Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite media response show, X's for Show. I'm Nico, and you can catch me at Nico Action.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
And I'm Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really, and we're here to talk Marvel.
I almost said we were your favorite Marvels, and then I realized you might have some other favorite Marvels today, as we're here to talk about two amazing sort of second round major change points for the Marvel Universe, talking about Marvels, which just debuted in theaters yesterday, and Loki Season 2, which just saw its finale sort of Thursday, sort of Friday, but, you know,
It's Thursday at 9.
So... It's at a time.
It's a frustrating system. It is.
I like that we're starting with this. I sort of like it. I sort of like that there is a time in the day before which no one can have seen the show. I do not love waking up and discovering that like 5 of my friends have seen the whatever the show is, because it just airs nebulously at like after midnight but before 5 a.m. And so like some people have now watched the entire thing, and then that's the other thing, is whether or not single episodes or, but I like that Loki, it was like, if you wanted to, you could do a little watch party and everybody starts at 9 and then you can all kind of talk about it. I don't know.
I certainly like this better. I definitely agree that I like this better than the other system.
Nope, you're muted. But man, you're so animated. It sounded like you really had shit to say.
I did. I think there's a balance to it. I love that it means that people get a chance to watch it the night before. That's the very considerate thing, but that's not why they did it. I think they did it to control the algorithm the next morning. I think it was really about having the media cycle hit at 6 a.m. instead of having it hit at 11 a.m. I think it was a little bit more about controlling how it all goes. But all said and done, I felt this was a big weekend for Marvel, who I'm shocked they didn't delay any of this, that they chose to have two things that could have kind of been related but kind of weren't happen at the same time. It's Brave and Roar all over again.
It's interesting because they try so many times to do stuff like that on purpose, and then this one just sort of, with the way everything keeps getting shifted around, it just sort of happened this way, I feel, and so it was pretty cool. They're a little connected. They're not quite connected. They're both about the multiverse. They're not both about the multiverse. So it was just a really interesting, fun week.
I think...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please. I think the thing that really disappoints me is it does really have the vibe of the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing. Like, I don't feel that anybody involved in Loki at any point was like, okay, but what's going on in like the Marvels? And is there anything that we should say about our multiversal shenanigans that would be relevant to or affect the Marvels or be worth, having just a little reference? In the same way that, like, I don't feel that the Marvels recognized or acknowledged in any way where Nick Fury was after Secret Invasion.
I'm going to pause that because I have a lot of feelings.
I know you do, and I know we're going to talk about that more. But like, I love how the Marvels came out of Miss Marvel, and I love that Carol is very recognizably Captain Marvel, but it feels like there's just those connections are missing, including feeling like there's an unreleased Captain Marvel movie that that like is kind of the only other thing that's acknowledged, and it doesn't exist.
I think there are ways in which that's true, but I think there's also ways in which, this also ties back into what our big question is for the week that I wrote, that I'm very proud of. Because the fact of the matter is, like our episode cover suggests, we're sort of part of a Marvel cinematic multiverse right now. And so I really agree that this film and a lot of Loki even created a lot of space to introduce a lot of stories and flesh a lot of things out And now it feels like we actually have permission and room to be able to start telling stories like that.
So then let's get to the big question. What branch of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse makes you the most excited? For me, I think it's the stuff we can't really get into just yet till we're talking about the Marvels.
It's the post-credit scene from the Marvels.
But not for the reasons people think.
Sure.
Okay.
But we'll get into that one for me. TK, what about you? Where's your Marvel Multiverse brain at?
I think it is excited about a hypothetical project that doesn't exist, but that because of the nature of multiversal, the multiversal setup, this potential project will be able to come in and feel very right at home in the world that is being created. There's nothing right now. I feel like my critique is that for all of this buildup and all of this setup that goes all the way back to What If and before, but that's going back now a few years. We don't have. They're really going slow with this. We don't have a second universe where we're like, oh, this is really like the one that they keep going back to, the way that like Days of Future Past was, or the Far Future Ascani timeline. We don't have any sort of sense of like, this is the other big universe that's like not the MCU proper, but like we're seeing a lot. And so it's tough to be really excited about any particular part of this, but I'm seeing a lot of potential, and I'm excited for the thing that makes me be like, it was worth it for this to be part of the multiversal project.
Kevo, your question. What's your answer?
I think probably the smaller pieces of canon, because the way that I imagine this now is the way I envision, the way that all this goes down is now sort of everything is connected right down to what's that weird X-Men animated series where there are a bunch of horny teens.
Oh,
Evolution.
Yeah, like that's part of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse now.
Amusingly, they were not horny.
Well, but whatever. That's not really the point.
Should have been.
They should have been.
Yeah. But I feel like stuff like that, stuff like the Spider-Man animated series with Prince Eric, everything that's going on with Spider-Man Turn Off the Across the Spider-Verse going on. I feel like so many of those things are able to more easily tie in and be connected. And so that's the thing that gets me the most excited, is that things like that now have a lot more freedom and permission to exist, where so many people were like, but that's not real, but this doesn't count, but this isn't that. Now I feel like this really, I feel like we've been unleashed in a lot of ways, and I'm super stoked.
Kevo, you just stealth pitched the best idea ever, which is a reboot update of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark that somehow relates to multiversal MCU shenanigans. And like, that's the big draw, is like, you can't have the real MCU multiverse experience unless you go see this Broadway production of Spider-Man and his biggest enemy, Floors. Best joke from Kimmy Schmidt ever.
You have to go on 2 separate nights. No, it was Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah.
Well, and
Spider-Man, too many Spider-Man.
I just want to say that I heard a show did that, and I was immediately like, DIF. I was like, unacceptable by Stranger Things being like, go see the show, or you don't know what a Demogorgon is, or whatever.
Wait, what?
That's going to happen. That's a thing. They're doing a Broadway show where it's going to be canon, and there's going to be important things in the show. West
End. It's in the West End. It's in
And it's Europe. A prequel.
So is this a conspiracy to get me to buy the plane ticket too? I'll go to Broadway. I can't go to the West End.
What's the problem?
Well, speaking of ever-growing casts that know what to do, we're going to bring in 2 geniuses to talk about Loki with us. I'm so excited. I could not have imagined when I said, well, the next Marvel movie coming out is Senor Deadpool. I want to rep Senor Deadpool. I could not have imagined that Jonah would also decide to rep Deadpool.
Now the only Marvel film coming out in 2024, people, so we better get into it.
So
we know.
Let's bring to the stage our very own, secret warriors, Jonah and Tori.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
All right, well, say your names, where we can find you, and let's get moving.
I'm Tori Sheehan. You can find me on the socials at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
And I'm Jonah. You can follow me at any social at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
All right. Now, we got a lot to talk about. We got a big show. But I do want to start with our first big thing, which was the big question. Do you guys have a most piqued interest area of the multiverse? And Tori, if you do not say multiverse will turn off the dark, I don't know what to do with you.
So angry I was not. My mic wasn't on during that point. It's highly possible it wasn't on so that we wouldn't get stuck on it for an hour.
Speak now, girl. Speak now.
No. I think for me, I'm very excited for all the ways in which we are hopefully bringing in all of the teams we haven't been able to see yet, Mutants, Fantastics, etc.
Fantastics are in this. Man, I'm gonna try to remember that score.
Yeah. So for me that's where I'm most excited. I think I'm also most excited to see if these Disney shows kind of culminate in something a little more, like launching a team that goes into the movies or something like that. Like I'm excited for that kind of stuff.
We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. So after Tori departs, you guys want to keep hanging out because some of us have seen the Marvels and have a lot of things to talk about. But Tori,
I was very busy.
Tori, no, your life is going to be made beautiful.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Go ahead.
I should probably also watch Ms. Marvel first. So this is a movie that I will be seeing.
Only mostly, not entirely. Honestly, I saw someone say, "Oh, I'm a year behind on everything Marvel," and I thought about it, and I was like, "Yeah, you could go see this one though." It helps, but I don't think that anything happens where you're like, "What is going on?"
What it is really good for is Miss Marvel makes you fall in love with Miss Marvel and Aman Vellani, and I do think I can't imagine somebody feels this way. That they got into the theater and they were like, this girl is a bit much and is a bit exhausting.
I'm sorry, she's literally the most perfect filmed superhero ever.
She's you, Nico. We get it.
No, she's okay. Hold on. No, she's literally.
So hold
perfect.
on.
So she got better work than America Chavez did.
Yeah, unfortunately, she really does. I love her so much, but I do think had I walked into the Marvels, I might have felt like. This is a lot for an hour and 45 minutes. But with the show, you do absolutely fall in love with her. The time spread out over multiple episodes and getting to know the family, you don't need to have seen it to understand a single thing that's happening in the Marvels. But man, do you know and love these characters by the time you get to see them on the big screen. And I think this is one of the most special from the little screen to the big screen moments in the history of the MCU. And that's one of the things I'm excited to talk about. But anyway, Jonah.
Right.
Yeah. Now to Sunpool, question. We have experienced so many elements of the Marvel universe that have not yet translated to the Marvel Cinematic. Is one of those what's got you so excited? Or is there something else that's already been titillated at? Remembering that we have a lovely creature right here who has not yet seen the Marvels.
We're gonna try to stay light. We'll try to stay light.
Sorry.
No.
It's fair. It keeps us honest.
I don't know if there's really anything in particular that I'm really excited for that hasn't really been talked about, with Deadpool coming out next year. I'm looking forward to that. This was completely, utterly... Oh, there we go. I'm reversed. I'm looking at myself in the camera. I have to remember it's mirrored. But no Mirrorverse here because this isn't Multiverse of Madness. No. This is a regular multiverse that we're maybe entering. There are some things I'm excited for, but I guess I have to see how things really play out. Actually, no. I had to take all this back because there is something that was hinted at in this movie. I don't want to spoil it too much. I won't say it, but it involves one of my favorite characters of this particular series that I very much love, and I screamed that she was there. I could say she. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And the people who saw it will know what I'm talking about.
Is it towards the end?
Yes.
Yes.
It is the first. First.
It's the pre-credit sequence.
Yes.
There's only one.
All right. So I love this. I love where we're at. Let's move somewhere that I think technically I already am. We're going to kick off this conversation with one that for me was hyper emotional. Why? Because I have feels. People who know me know that I really have feelings about Kid Loki and Journey into Mystery. And I have a whole lot of feels about the Thorverse in general. And so this for me was an emotional apex. I was really excited to see where Loki season 2 was going to go, and where it went felt to me like a good swan song, but yet, the first thing I want to say is we're here to mostly discuss the finale, which had no post-credit scene as a decision to echo the finality of the ending moments of the show. That said, I believe that we now live in a world where, in order to understand the Marvel universe, you need to think about rope. And I know this was kind of hinted at in, Loki in many ways, but like to take it a little bit further, and it's the many strands of the Marvel universe that give you the tensile strength of these films. And if you're asking me if this thread of that rope featuring Tom Hiddleston's Loki is at an end, yes. But tomorrow we could find out that the original Avengers are coming back, and it's going to be, God, it'll be directed by someone like Neil Blomkamp, and I will just be devastated. God. And, and if that happened tomorrow, would that invalidate for me? No. But would it cast the moment differently? Yes. And I think that's where I'm starting. This was a beautiful ending to 2 seasons that were a beautiful ending to 10 years. And also, there's no way this is the end, everybody. Let's keep rolling.
I mean, I think all of the I'm now calling them the adult Avengers, but like so many of them get a very final moment throughout since Endgame that also reminds you that like if you don't literally die, and even if you do, because RDJ is apparently coming back. Life doesn't end. Thor has a very this dude is no longer the guy you saw in Avengers 1 or Thor 1.
This is a post-Aquaman Thor.
If we get another Thor movie, if we see Chris Hemsworth again, that's a dude who's essentially been a dad who lost the love of his life, whose brother is no longer around. So we're never getting hammy, silly, campy bro Thor ever again, and that's great. That's fine. RDJ is dead. We'll see. Cap is 100. We'll see. But Thor and Loki are the 2 best examples. Neither of them are dead. Thor's got a whole life to continue leading. That daughter has to grow up.
He has a baby girl daughter.
Yeah, we have so many places where we could see him. Similarly with Loki, I hope we do not see Loki come back as the enemy or the trickster.
Avenger Prime or nothing.
That's kind of how I feel. I mean, I feel like where he ends in this is the MCU version of Avenger Prime.
Yes.
And if we see him again,
Gonna cry.
It's either to be, if we see him again in a very active action role, I hope it is something more like Avenger Prime from Jason Aaron's phenomenal 2018 through 2023 run of Avengers, which everybody should read because it is the run for MCU, post-MCU comics reading the Avengers. He's either that or he is, hey, I see all, I control all, I can't help you, but I'm pointing you to these things and you got to go, take care of whatever the problem is. I think that's a really good role for Tom Hiddleston to be in after this journey for his character.
I'm so glad you set up Avenger Prime. You have the best Loki brain.
I mean, you love, sorry, this is real quick. You love Kid Loki. I love Loki that is in a relationship with himself. Like, I've never related to anything more than a Loki who hates himself and can only love himself. And the only disappointment I had with Loki, the TV show, was that we didn't get another moment for Sylvie and Loki, because that's the most important relationship on the show. Anyway.
Every man in this show is so attractive, it's insane. But speaking of high-key Loki brains, I want to ask Tori, you represent the modern fan. Even Jonah, who came into Loki, via the Marvel Universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's read a lot of like Loki in random Marvel stuff. Like, he just shows up in stuff. It's a Loki thing. But like, Tori, your connection with this character began in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's still the version that has your foothold. How do you feel about this wrap up on what is ultimately the cultural iteration of the character?
When he becomes the tree, I felt so punched in the gut that tears formed, and like quiet little sobs of shock and like pride, yes. Like more than pride, like I felt so much more that wasn't specifically like, I love my little Tom Hiddleston as Loki, it's my favorite, oh my god. Like, this was literally just like a moment where it's so crystallized that this is for Loki. This is the ascendance. This is the forgiveness, the balm, the only. And that hit me real hard.
Speaking of hit us real hard, Ali Galactic, super fan of the universe. We are so sorry you can't stay, but please know you are in our hearts, in our minds, and in all of our slam poetry. We love you.
And this is here waiting for you, and feel free to jump on us with your thoughts whenever you catch up.
Mm-hmm. We'll do the Ali Galactic response show.
Yay!
Yeah, why not?
Tori, you were saying you were remade by this episode like branches into a tree.
Oh my god! Like, I felt things I hadn't felt in a Marvel capacity in a while. It's such a wonderful culmination for the character that I think was really beautiful to watch for the actor. And Kevil's trying to rip my heart out right here. It's going great. So
it's my job.
So if we could all just take a sec. So it was amazing and wonderful, and I'm so glad that I was unfortunately so busy I couldn't watch this week to week, and so I slammed 4 episodes in a row until about half hour before broadcast, and I'm still reeling, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and this is the most
green.
And so green, and like Gatsby's green light. I'll just keep driving towards this because I think this is the most I've ever felt from especially from a Marvel TV show. I think since WandaVision. Yeah,
I see that.
Well, You know, speaking of things that have arced across multiple seasons for this, you know, Jonah, when you came into this, I don't think you knew what the TVA was. And ultimately, in some ways, it kind of didn't matter if you knew what the TVA was, because they ultimately said the TVA is this and then isn't. How do you feel about the end of this 2-season journey for Loki as someone who came into the character also through the MCU, but then kind of solidified elements through like random appearances and things like X-Men titles?
It was really interesting because part of, I think, maybe my biggest slight against the Loki show, at least in the beginning, was it felt like they were prescribing what was Loki's character arc to a variant of Loki who didn't actually go to the growth of what we saw Loki for the most part until Loki was killed in Infinity War, where it makes sense for that version of Loki. We got this variant that didn't have that growth. He's on that variant when taken from that point of time. Is still trying to steal the Tesseract cube. Is still trying to take the Space Stone. It was when we kind of realized, oh, no matter what Loki it is, this can be his journey. And then when I was really getting on board with what that meant of Loki, I think it really kind of solidified what the show was trying to do to showcase, like, oh, Loki very much is similar to this idea of what a lot of queer men tend to latch on, these very tragic female heroes, these very tragic women who have this backstory of trauma, of this destined for greatness. And seeing Loki put everybody, literally the entire world and the multiverse, above himself in order to maintain it was really quite shocking, and I think probably one of the better executions of a character's complete story. I think this is a very narratively satisfying ending to the character of Loki, this version of Loki in the MCU.
I really love so much of what you said, especially specifically being like, this is just some dumb variant. This is such a weird, kind of dumb, random story. And like, over time, I really agree. I felt the same exact thing where I sort of started to feel like this Loki in a lot of ways represents the potential of so many Lokis, and that this is this one specific journey. But one of the things that really caught me as I was, reanalyzing this and playing it back and thinking about where this all goes back to, and thinking about the start of this journey, all of this happened because of Endgame. Mm-hmm. This world tree is in a lot of ways some of the final fallout from Endgame. That variant wouldn't have existed if they hadn't messed up that point in the mission.
Just to add
and sent that Loki on his journey.
I just want to add, really, to support your point, this Loki is a result of the mission to collect the stones. This really is a fallout of the unsnapping, because the unsnapping is what drew them to get these stones. Loki repairing the world tree is just another element of exactly what you're saying, Kevo. Great read.
Well, and the thing
also... is... Go ahead.
Thank you. The thing is, it freaked me out when I saw that the name of this finale was the name of the series premiere. I was like, that's weird. But the thing is that really feeds into this whole concept of it being an Ouroboros, of it being an Lemniscus, of it being this self-fulfilling prophecy, this time loop. We wouldn't have this tree if he hadn't had that happen. But, it's a cycle that feeds itself. Please continue.
No, I was just going to say, like, Endgame really sneaks it in with Tilda Swinton explaining to you how multiversality works. And that's not the point of the movie at all. They sew it up, they think. They don't create branching timelines. They get the stones back to where they were supposed to be. End of movie. It is like Endgame really could have ended with, we defeated Thanos, but also we know we created these 8 different timelines. The whole point of it is, nope, sewn up. But we do get that Tilda Swinton moment that really says, this is what happens. And then that is the basis for all of this. the fact that we have Loki to steal away, but then that stealing away illustrates what Tilda Swinton teaches us and teaches Hulk. And that is that very first hint that we get that this enormous franchise can't be contained to this one universe.
Tori, you looked so revved. You had a lot of thoughts going on there.
Oh, it was just that I remembered that I had finally connected while watching this finale that the two people that become very important to this whole thing of Mobius and Ouroboros are both the same thing. They're self-feeding into each other, flipped item kind of deal. And I think those two, outside of the point of Sylvie, are the most important to this journey. And Sylvie in and of herself is just a recursive version of Loki. So I think we got
okay.
I think we really got, once we added OB into this, I think we were basically revving for this the whole time.
Now, I have to bring up something that this gave me that I'm willing to fight anybody about. I saw a lot of rumors that, oh man, if you see the end of Loki, they can't do anything about how locked into Jonathan Majors they are. Pause.
Literally opposite.
I cannot think of a finale that you could just simply say, no more Kang ever again. The Loki world tree is Kang free.
And there's really not even any mention of Kang as a potential serious threat at this point either. There is the moment where they have the file and they talk about how he caused havoc in 616 adjacent, which is meant to be understood quantum mania. They're talking probably about the quantum realm. But other than that, there was a moment that I personally had thought, oh, that might be Kang, which was, and I understand this was my interpretation, most people believe this is Ravonna facing Eliath. Probably. Yeah. I'm probably wrong.
But the purple,
I was like, it's purple.
Color.
It might be Kang. But even that, I feel like you left a few threads that Kang could still be a villain in the future. But that's not the same thing as being the kind of major threat that he was at the start of this. With the way this ended, yeah, no, he just really, really, really de-escalates back down to a normal Marvel villain in many ways.
I'm going to tell you all who I think they should pivot to being the bad guy after we move on to the Marvels. But, I think they could just say has been manipulating it all along. Dr. Doom. The fuck? I mean, nobody would be happier that he is the only way to save the multiverse than Dr. Doom would be. So I really think that. Now,
I mean, at this point, there's not really a lot that you have to explain was manipulated all along. I think it's really interesting that people keep being like, well, no, this is exactly how they didn't add any sequences. They didn't have to film anything else for Loki. This is exactly it. Nobody's considering the fact that they cut stuff in editing. The first thing I thought when Kevo said that was, if that was potentially Kang at any point, if you cut away, then it's just not Kang, then it is Elias.
But if you see him just going, come with me.
Right, if you see that purple and go, oh, it's Kang, then that is Kang will return in blah, 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 blah. But also, like, we don't know how long that scene with the file was actually scripted to be or what was filmed. It could have been cut. Because the thing is, it ends with a very, like, yeah, Kang, not really a threat anymore.
Truly.
That we got 1616 adjacent. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that sequence as well, Victor Timely never comes into existence.
Yeah.
All we'll ever really say is, well, then what happened at the end of Quantumania? But I think you can say that was before He Who Remains intervened and structure,
they're trapped in the old world tree, and the new
Right.
world tree doesn't have room for them.
Right. And then last but not least, we've seen 3 drastically different looking Peter Parker variants. If you feel it needs to be Kang, there you got options.
I have felt like, and his name escapes me at the moment, but Finn from Star Wars. I felt like he would do a really good Kang.
Oh,
that
John
would
Boyega.
John Boyega would do a very good Kang that would be adjacent to the Kang that we've already seen a lot of. There's a lot of people that would do a really good Kang, and that's
I was
the
going to
thing
say
of variants.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen too would be another really great one.
Yeah.
Or Krang from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I keep waiting for Krang to show up in something. I feel
he's retired to take care of his family. You guys didn't hear about that?
Krang, a brain with tentacles that drives a big chonky boy around, is my favorite thing in the world. That's the dream.
That is really the dream. I want to be the big boy driven by the Krang. So anyway, Tori, Jonah, you guys only dial into the madness. So talk to us about your own branches of this tree. How do you guys feel? Yeah, for the love of God. How do you guys feel about Bebop and Rocksteady? I mean, how do you guys feel about the New World tree and its need for a Kang? Kang, Kangity Kang, Shabab.
I mean, so you're. Can you rephrase, please?
I really think that this season finale / series finale set up no need to ever come back to Kang ever again. I really think this new world tree could just be, Kang proof.
So this is the idea that they're all Kang, and so therefore that he who must remain is separate.
They're all Kangs.
Yeah, we're saying the whole umbrella, the guy with the pyramid on his head from Quantumania 2, everyone is Kang in this question. So how do you feel about Kang as a threat?
You're Kang, you're Kang, you're Kang. Is anybody else here Kang?
I think we opened up a Kang and whoop ass.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still very terrifying for people who don't have time skills. So, pack a couple of those in your pocket before you climb the tower. But I think I don't see how we can build the cinematic universe into something large enough to be a double movie about fighting this guy anymore. Because I feel like we did it. So, yeah.
So, I think part of the problem with Kang is scary in the sense of even if you defeat one Kang, another one will come back. But it's not the same level of I'm terrified as your Thanos, as your High Evolutionary, as, someone like Galactus. The level of threat doesn't feel the same because Kang in and of himself is just a very high-tech person who will come from a high-tech future to come defeat you, and then they'll figure out a way to defeat you.
Oh no, I'm being attacked by Scott Wozniak.
Steve.
Oh, Steve, thank you. I went to school with Scott Wozniak. Oh no.
You don't want to be attacked by him either then.
Oh, great point.
Yes. Kang represents a kind of threat that is a little more existential as opposed to a physical threat or a presence threat. I don't think anybody's normally terrified of Kang, especially if he's not in a realm like at the end of time where he can use his time powers. It's just one of those things where it's hard to see Kang as this large threat because Kang in and of himself is not inherently scary. If that makes sense.
Man, Jonah, you are really pinpointing something that's like a problem with Marvel, the company. They have really when you look at Secret Wars, the comic event, that actually really should have been a Kang. Doctor Doom should not have the same cachet of fear that somebody who manipulates time and space and like has access to everything that Doctor Doom has in one single reality throughout all of them, that they have never managed to make him in any form feel like a threat. When like I loved the idea that it was Kang after Thanos, because Thanos is like, oh, our universe is in trouble. We don't have the resources. So I know this is ugly, but I'm just going to kill half of you. And I'm kind of smug and Josh Brolin-y about it. So it seems really evil.
And I look like Grimace, and I'm doing the Grimace challenge.
And I'm actually related to Barbara Streisand, so you know I've got power.
Well, I think it's also that as we moved forward on all of these Avengers things, we got further and further from like personal harm to you as a person in that world. Like in Avengers 1, aliens are coming down and they're shooting at you. That's a physical problem.
Yeah.
In the second one, we had Ultron was going to try to turn you into a robot. And there's a part of your brain that's like, that is bad. I don't want to be a robot. But there's a part of your brain that's like, if I go into the woods and I'm really careful, I think I might survive this. And then you get to, we'll shove Civil War away, but then you get to Thanos, and he is like, I'm only going to kill half of you. And your brain goes, we got a 1 and 2 shot. And then you get to Kang, and Kang is, I'm in charge, but you don't even know I'm in charge, and it feels like you're in charge, so I guess you're in charge. And your brain just goes,
like the government, yeah.
And your brain just goes, yeah, that sounds like a Tuesday with my boss. So
Tori, that is exactly it. That they've never managed to have Kang show up and be like, I'm sitting over your shoulder at all times, maybe going to kill you. Yeah. Because it serves my purposes. I am always about to kill you.
And I need to add to that, because the actual problem is the good guys. Okay. And I got dinged on this last week. And so I'm going to expose the ding. But, you know, when I think about people who can go up against Thanos, I don't think Elon Musk, John McCain,
well, he can't go up against anyone.
One of the guys from SEAL Team 6,
Katniss Everdeen.
Katniss, like, and so the original Avengers are just sort of like the guys that run your YMCA, and so it's a little tough to realistically see them go up against Kang. So you have to add in your Doctor Stranges, and then Marvel was like, we need to take a minute and think about what we're doing here. We're adding all of these hyper powerful people. You know, you get Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel so close together realistically that when you get to adding like Kate Bishop, Shang-Chi, it's sort of like, but Shang-Chi has magic bracelets. Okay, I'm in with that. Cool. He's normal till the magic bracelets, so he can hang with a Kate, but also hang with a Doctor Strange. And the thing that it really points out for me is Marvel realized the OP-ification and tried to pare back on it. This shows OP-ification in terms of what you're talking about. It's not that anybody quite has, although you can ask Kevo, in the premiere of this season, I screamed about Loki using sorcery being the best moment of my life.
Yes.
You've got Loki being a sorcerer, but OB and the rest of the cast, their powerfulness is in their knowledge. And, you know, to your point, TK, you know, Kang is this all-powerful figure in aspects, but to Jonah's point, you know, put him in a bad situation and his life sucks. So, Tori, when you say that Kang represents, I'm pulling the strings, but you don't even know, it's to make a weird point. It's kind of like if Kevo said, I'm going to remove anybody from the studio. He actually, as the producer, has that power. We've given it to him and he sort of takes it, but he would never do something like that. Kang is purposefully introduced as a variable unknown that can't be quantified in that way. Can't be quantum-mania'd.
Or, as the show puts it, it's a scaling problem.
I mean,
yes.
the thing that I would really love to see, and I think this actually would be such a cool way to do it, pick any character who's really probably their heyday was Endgame and before, but we love them. You know, unfortunately, most of them are dead. But like, if Kang showed up and just took out Steve Rogers and said, like, I'm not doing this with you guys anymore. Steve Rogers is out of your reality. Leave me to my machinations. Don't ever confront me. That would be something scary. Tori's point really makes so much sense to me because it's the same thing with Kevo. This show would be so fucking funny and interesting if Kevo was like, I will remove you and you're not getting back in the room if I don't like what you say. Pitch me your idea. Like, what's the, you know, what's the thing? Like, if Kevo had that power and we're all sitting around being like,
the Godcast.
Let me watch my words. Let me speak carefully. Then we've got a little bit of a story. Why is TK acting weird? Because Kevo has the power to kill him. Why are all the Avengers acting weird? Because Kang can just show up and pull them out of reality and then they're done. But we never see that. He's huffing around, you know, being tiny, being an old-timey huckster, sitting at the end of the world saying he can do these things, but doing them through proxies. One of whom, Ravonna Renslayer, Gugu Mbatha Raw, completely underused. Such a great...
Part of the conversations we're having here is, and that's the thing, we keep talking about variants. It could just be a variant of Kang that's doing something if you don't have Jonathan Majors. Even before anything that happened, and he was just somebody who was expensive and hard to get down, there are things that you can do. I thought that was the point.
Well, and I would say, like, Jonathan Majors Kang, we could ultimately, if it has to be Kang, he's the variant. The real Kang is the guy that hasn't shown up yet because the
he's
actor
the destroyer guy.
Yeah, the actor doesn't have criminal charges, so he's the one who we're pulling in. And that's going to be Kang. But I guess my point is, one, that's still an option. Two, you all have kind of convinced me even more so, because I was already fine with it. But, like, I really don't care if Kang comes back, because Marvel has never, in the history of the company, convinced me to be afraid of Kang or to think of him as a threat, even on the level of Doom, which is just bonkers to me because, you know, I'm really rooting for Jed MacKay on this current Avengers run, and it's actually a good... Jed MacKay from Timeless onward has some ideas about Kang that I think are cool, but still I'm not like, oh no, what if Kang gets a hold of anything? If you told me Kang had all of the Infinity Stones, I would shrug.
Oh no, Kang's not gonna be kind. He won't rewind.
Oh no, Steph Kang, what are you doing? Also,
God
more
damn it,
importantly, yes.
Kevo, kick me out.
Kang,
I don't want to be here.
Canonically, Kang has been beaten by Power Pack, which is a bunch of kids. So you know what? No.
I mean, listen, we already said we're talking about OP groups. Power Pack?
Bring in Power Pack.
Go ahead.
I'll do the fan casting right now. No, I won't. I haven't done it enough.
You have more, Jonah?
Oh, what I was going to say is the most interesting I ever really saw Kang, and this is such a weird thing that he was interesting in, was the Steve Orlando like miniseries where they read the book of Chaos.
Darkhold. Yeah.
Is Kang in the Wasp story was way more fascinating in that small interaction with Janet than any other random appearance I've seen of Kang.
Banger pull, Jonah.
I love that comic so much. That specific issue was just so good to me, and especially the art. But that was where I find Kang more interesting, where they want to paint Kang kind of as this big bad, but I kind of like seeing Kang as this almost very neutral, this chaotic kind of neutral person who isn't necessarily evil, but isn't necessarily good, who's just self-servicing and self-fulfilling. He does what he wants and he uses his powers the way he does because that's what he's all about. It's always for him. And I find that more interesting as an adversary and playing around with that as opposed to this idea that he is this humongous threat, but doing was it FDR who said the big stick?
Mm-hmm.
speak quietly with a big stick. That's kind of what he's doing.
Teddy.
It's like I have this giant time stick and I can do things with it, but I won't.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I think Loki, when he sits down and takes that throne and becomes that god of stories, to me, I think he's kind of sitting in that same world where he's like, I have the ability to probably go into each of these strands and fuck around a little and do whatever I want. But what I really want is for people to have a chance, an opportunity. You can be anything, actually anything, and you will get to see that to completion. And I think this is the most I have ever loved the idea of an uncaring god, of an absent god, one that cares so much that he deprives himself from helping us more. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on those Catholic thoughts for a real long time.
I mean, I love that take because that's what the show from episode 1 until the last frame was setting up. It was explaining why it's not really reasonable to think that the person that's holding creation in his hands is gonna go take care of you specifically. Yeah. And when somebody tries to do that, they're not a good person. They're not trustworthy. They don't do it right. They take away free will. They kept saying billions, by the way.
Wish.
They say billions. It's hilarious because I was like, let's say because they were like, oh, somebody was going to kill 5,000. The kid who was going to kill 5,000 people.
Yeah.
I was like, that is one tiny variant because the first variant is we're going to kill one person. But inside of that are killing one person at any location there is a person on Earth. So that's 7 billion right there. And then
that's just Earth.
And then you go to the next step and the next step. And then you go to they kill 2 people. And that one gets crazier because then it's 2 people. So even though the locations are smaller, it's still have to do it's exponential. It's somewhere in the 4.9 times friends? 10 to the 19th kind of world. Yeah. And once you get to that point, your brain kind of goes swiggly and just goes, it's infinity. It's infinity. It's why we haven't gotten close.
It's why we call it's why they name giant numbers such ridiculous things like the Googleplex, because you literally can't appreciate the severity of the number anyway.
Yeah.
So it does not matter if we call it a Googleplex.
Our billions can barely hold on to a billion. It takes a billion seconds is 31-ish years of your life. Which is wildly different from where a million seconds is, which is 17 weeks days. Or something. Yeah, something really small.
If you want a fun math fact, we sent the largest known number that is identifiable within our math on Earth. We sent it into space. We sent the number into space because we were like, this is really cool.
Get it out of here. It's huge.
Yeah.
We don't need it. Can I pose a question on what you guys think about the future about something?
I'm sorry, we ran out of time. Thank you all so much. Have a great
This has been fun.
Apologies to Matt Damon.
Oh my God, everyone wait.
We're ready. I'm ready to go. You say we gotta get out of here, I'm out.
We reached up our right hand and went, bye.
We all just like waving.
Oh my gosh, Jonah, I'm so sorry.
Jonah, what's your question?
Tidal wave against your question. I'm sorry.
With everything going on involving Kang, and especially how they're doing things, how do you think this is going to affect the future of potentially adding Iron Lad to the MCU?
That was actually one of my big things. I think Iron Lad now might be the best way to continue to not have Kang be the Thanos. Iron Lad, you get a different actor, and you have a Kang that can say, here's why, despite you, the viewer, having been told for a few years that a version of me is coming up, that's actually not happening. And I'm not going to get into the other reasons why I think Iron Lad might be more present than we think until a little bit later.
I genuinely don't see Iron Lad happening.
What's an Iron Lad?
They don't have any boys.
Iron Lad is part Kang, part Vision, and is from Alan Heinberg's Young Avengers, which is kind of the most notable version of Young Avengers. He is their Iron Man, but also their Kang.
He is a younger version of Kang who goes to the past in an effort to not become Kang in the future.
Cute.
He doesn't want to be a conqueror. He wants to be a hero, and he falls in love with Cassie.
But now he doesn't matter.
But that's something that actually just... That's interesting. Sorry, continue. No. You should continue. Trust me.
I mean, nobody matters. He doesn't matter. Doesn't work in this particular context. Kang didn't matter in Young Avengers when Iron Lad showed up. Like we hadn't done a good Kang story in forever, and Kang kind of never matters to the Young Avengers really either. He just shows up to be like, no, you can't hang out with your friends. You have to grow up, get bitter and jaded, and become me. Which, spoiler alert, Iron Lad still hangs out with his friends a bunch.
Okay, Captain Hook.
The MCU Young Avengers don't have any boys.
Okay, but let me just challenge with, I don't care. They can have the champions. My actual thing is, and I'm going to say this. Okay, what is the best way to stop having blue on the screen? Is it to always purposefully include a very specific shade of blue?
This is too cerebral for me.
Or should you just not use blue, right? If we don't want Kang, the Kang.
I mean, I think the thing that, like, the tough part about that is that they named a movie. They haven't renamed the movie the Kang Dynasty.
I'll rename it for them. Untitled Nico movie. Thank you. I'll be in it.
Love that. So
they don't want to comment on any of it. They are not changing anything until charges are either dropped or arrest or jail.
I don't even know when it's going to be released right now.
Jonas trying to answer his own question. Hold on.
No, not to that. So TK's point that there are currently outside of Isaiah Patriot, there's no.
We still don't really have.
Minor character at best.
No male Young Avengers. Counterpoint: all the male Young Avengers suck.
I agree because I don't like Billy or Teddy.
Tommy's on thin ice, but because he's dating Prodigy, it's okay.
Kid Loki, Novar.
Are we getting Kid
Loki?
We
don't have those though. I know they exist.
But if you're saying add Iron Lad, add someone interesting instead.
What I'm saying to you is we have seen Kang, therefore we don't really have to do much to introduce Iron Lad. He shows up and goes, "I'm a Kang." End of story. We like even somebody like the only one that we really have is Billy. Billy can show up, and I mean, by the time they fucking get to it, that child will be old enough.
Actually, now I'm looking that up. Thank you for reminding me. Now it's been, how many years since the last year?
You know, setting that aside, Isaiah is going to need a backstory of some kind. We don't have Teddy at all, so there's another one.
Which I really thought, I was telling these two, I really thought we were getting him in the
I did too, because there's no boys.
I thought we were going to get Novar.
Well, we also don't have, he is a Young Avenger. He should be there. We technically have a Kid Loki. They're not using that Kid Loki. They are going to use, a fuckable 20-year-old.
I gotta be honest. Sometimes when these shows are like, we're being rebooted after 13 years and we've reached out to the original actors. I'm like, get somebody attractive.
Yeah.
The WandaVision Billy is 12 now. And when you consider America Chavez was like 15 when they filmed Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, realistically, if they don't get to filming anything with Billy and Teddy and those characters in the next 5 years, he's realistically going to be old enough.
What did you say, Nico?
I said and smushy. I'm just
whatever.
the best Avenger.
Smushy is my favorite Avenger.
You love Dupe. Stop.
His costume.
But yeah, I mean, I we'll talk about it. There's more to say about the Young Avengers, but
and there's more to say about the casting of Novar that turned out to be nothing.
Who was it?
the character in the Marvels that sings was originally rumored to be playing Novar, and does not, obviously.
The prince specifically, or just one of the people? Okay.
The prince.
That would have been wild.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I think back to this. I think one of the things that I do want to say about, Kang or no Kang, one of the things that has been rumored online that has me very excited. First of all, I know I joked that this whole cast is very attractive, because they are. Every one of them, down to, every one of them. Just really attractive people. I think that the cool thing here is they don't all look like a Chris Hemsworth or a Chris Evans. I think, Eugene Cordero's got some beautiful heft on him, but he's not like your conventional leading man. And in that, you've given an opportunity to create a visually different Marvel universe, still filled with the kind of required beautiful people, because, unfortunately, the movies aren't getting too brave with their casting. But one of the things that I heard a lot of people joking / hinting about is that perhaps Obi is going to become the Beyonder, with all of his knowledge of time, space, and reality. And I think the Beyonder, when he was created, and this, I swear there had been a point this whole time, the Beyonder, when he was created, chose to take the form of what was most attractive at the time. So he purposely became a white Michael Jackson with muscles. Literally, those choices. He copied his musculature from Captain America, I think it is, and copies his face and hair from Michael Jackson, and then chooses to be white. And then
Spider-Man has to teach him how to poop.
It's literally one of the weirdest things Marvel ever did. And so the Beyonder,
this is what we should be adapting,
right?
Yeah. Well, and I actually think we might be. Anyway,
I do
keep going, Nico.
The Beyonder is revealed to kind of sort of be a cosmic cube come to life. So that's the level of power he has.
Well, I mean, now we've retconned that.
I know. That's why I was like, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But the whole point here, I think if these characters, like you guys were suggesting earlier, would go on to be major players in the Marvel universe, I think that would be beautiful. If Mobius and his desire to become a father starts a family, and you tell me that this man's name is Nathaniel Richards, I would sign the fuck up yesterday. I hate kind of some of the villains.
That's a little Once Upon a Time, but I'm still down with it.
Nope.
Also, they gave his name.
No, I'm saying if he chooses to become Nathaniel Richards, because Kang is Immortus, is, Ramatut, like, everybody's got lots of names. Mama got identity problems. So
true.
It would be a fascinating take on the Beyonder to make Ke Huy Quan the Beyonder, because he's not going to be he's not going to be a Josh Brolin. That if they did that, they would introduce the Beyonders.
Yes.
Which we're already we're getting close to it with Secret Wars. If we're doing that movie, it might just make sense to pivot. And just rather than having it be Kang, who again, like, team, great job, really sold and reminded all of us about the idea that Kang has always kind of sucked. And it's not even that, like, MCU phases 4 and 5 did a bad job making Kang a villain the way that Thanos was. It's actually that nobody has ever done it. Kang's not very good for that.
A Gordon Ramsay 5-star shit sandwich is still at its core a shit sandwich.
Right.
But I will say the time runs out lead up to revealing that it's the Beyonders actually really was scary and made the Beyonders pretty scary. It got a little wonky, and then unfortunately, I don't know artistically why that was allowed to be what the Beyonders looked like. But that's what we have now. But I love the idea that, like, post Loki, OB somehow is like, I went to go discover the secrets of the universe and I became a Beyonder. And then, oops, all Beyonders. And also, now the other ones are coming and they're dicks, because Ke Huy Quan's never going to be a villain like that.
No.
He's just too great. I want to hug him too much.
He's a little too cinnamon roll for it.
Yeah.
I also want to say that he did not become his blue frost giant self here, that he remained a beautiful version of what he imagined an Asgardian king would be. And that's why Thor didn't come through, because he and his Thor never made up. So his Thor and him don't have a storyline.
Yeah.
So that he became his vision of what his mother would have wanted him to be.
Also, those shoes were banging. They like 5 shots of those shoes. I do feel like Marvel is preparing to sell me those shoes. And guess what, Marvel? Because I know you're listening.
These?
I'll buy them.
Yes.
They're
oh my god!
slippers.
No, they are perfect leather loafers. Watch
those are Irish tap dance shoes.
Yeah, no, girl.
He got to find a way to entertain himself sitting alone on that broke ass throne.
I got a pair of Capesias for you whenever you're ready.
Listen, I know he's Norse, but he's doing some Irish river dance on those tendrils.
The Norse and the Celts have a lot of overlap.
Oh yeah, everybody likes knots.
Enjoy.
And, little creatures with pug noses. So
don't talk about me like that.
Goblins, Ricky Gervais.
Pug. Pug.
Okay.
also, I have to say the cinematography on Loki has always been quite good.
Yeah.
But in this episode in particular, the halo effects, the symmetry around them, the coloring, the look, there were many. I mean, Mobius's last moment, I was like, am I suddenly in like a Clint Eastwood 1975 movie? Am I like, I'm watching this, I'm like Tom Hiddleston is giving me Laurence Olivier back in the day. Like I was like, what am I watching? Like what am I like? Everything was happening.
I got Ian McKellen's Hamlet.
My God.
They also
down to stuff like, go ahead.
They just to the cinematography, they really throughout the series have pulled off so many shots that are referential to time periods where I think mostly we make fun of the cinematography. A lot of like they had to use video and it didn't look good, but Loki always found a way to integrate it into the visual aesthetic of the TVA, and the fact that they managed to do so many head-on shots. That last shot where Loki turns around and looks directly at the camera, but you know that he's talking to Mobius and Sylvie, but he's looking right at you. That's like a cardinal rule of you can't really do that in cinema. And you kind of can't there it is. You can't maintain the shot. Like you can do a really beautiful
Brad Falchuk on Glee real quick.
Yeah.
You can do a couple interstitial frames where like a character will look directly at the camera and maybe they won't say anything. But the idea, it's almost impossible to pull off a shot where somebody is looking into the camera talking to you and not have it come off as just somehow wrong. And the fact that they figured it out.
In many ways, Loki is literally talking to us as the audience and telling us that he is doing this to help fix the problem of the multiverse for us.
Yeah.
It's right there. And it's, you know,
I do wonder.
It is, but it's great.
Yeah. I do wonder how much they were like, this show is doing. I wonder if they will be able to piggyback off of what this show did, and it really did save the MCU multiverse.
This moment does give a lot of my family's in Florida, and I'm in New York. Right? It gives a lot of that sort of like 90s schlocky kind of kid movie. Where the kid talks to the camera. But I actually think that's referential to Loki growing up. One of the things that we kind of touched on, but we didn't really get into, and it's something that I needed somebody who understood cinema a whole lot better than me to explain, is part of what I loved about Avengers the first time I saw it is that it was directed like a television show, not like a film. It had a lot of these tight follow shots. It didn't really utilize the bigness of its filming scale. It had a lot of intimacy. And as Tori pointed out in that first film, they're coming for you. And that intimacy actually enhances it, as does sort of the naivete of things like early Steve's costume, right? So then when we update to Age of Ultron, which the growing pains are evident, it really is a film trying to it's a film trying to go through a very strange puberty very quickly. And of course, it has tons of growing pains. But when you get to the Russos, who hysterically started in television, when you get to the Russos' film vision for the Avengers in the Civil War film and in the Avengers, I meant to say in the Avengers films and Civil War, good for me, in the Civil War, Ken Burns, ladies and gentlemen.
Also jazz.
And also jazz. So La La Land is the story of how white people gave us jazz. So the thing I'm trying to say here is that I think the thing that this Loki film did really beautifully was that it reflected our personal growth across this timeline. I think so many of the different directorial decisions and the multiversal approach to a film series, because it's a film series, this is a couple of short movies, that did not really have the opportunity to explore the multiverse the way we're likely to see the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. I think it gave us a kind of chronal multiverse. We got to see this Loki grow up across 12 episodes the way the Marvel Universe grew up across 12 or 13 years. And in that, I really think there is something to be said about that very circular cycle point that is the first and last episode of this sharing a name and scenes.
And that's, I think that is the important part of the Disney Plus streaming shows. As cool as everything up to Endgame was, a lot of it in terms of being viable as an adaptation of the comic was really relying on, this is our best chance, if not our first chance for all the characters, seeing these characters on screen. This is the iconic Iron Man brought to life, brought off the page. But in terms of serial storytelling and in terms of referencing the broad breadth of what happens in a comic and how characters grow through the years in comics, issue by issue, movies can't do that really. It's tough. The shows can. And if the MCU wants to kind of say, we've got everything in the same backpack that the comics has, we're just doing it differently, the shows are a hugely important tool for allowing a character like Loki and allowing a piece of the universe like how multiversity functions to grow in time, in installments, for us to grow with it, rather than just saying, movie 1, there's a multiverse. Movie 2, it's shaken up. Movie 3, we fixed it. What a journey we've all been on.
Yeah.
Go buy the original dystopian teen novels it's all based on by Random House.
Yeah, I really, really feel where you're coming from, because part of the whole point of creating this cinematic universe, multiverse, experiment experience is to be able to do more with it. And so we should be experimenting with things. The fact that this story is ultimately meant to be such an Ouroboros itself and led to such a fascinating and yet quiet thing that is now just the background of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was really cool.
It's really great that now we can see the Marvel forest for the trees. And before I take this any further and get punished, I think we're reaching the end of our Loki discussion. So, Tori, I know you won't be with us going forward because you're taking your time to see the Marvels in a good way, right? We need to keep seeing money roll in after week 1 when a movie has a steep, everybody was talking about, well, the first week was blah, blah, blah. But don't forget that second week when you see the Marvels had a 53% drop off. Everyone hates it.
Listen,
right? So,
I got bad news. It already is not good for numbers, so it's not going to have a steep drop off.
Oh, gosh. But what if it still does? So, Tori, as you represent the second wave supporting the Marvels, we're going to be saying goodbye to you. But what were your closing thoughts on Loki? What was your big takeaway on who was for many years, I know, one of your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe characters?
I think this was as much of a love letter from the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the Loki and Tom Hiddleston in particular's Loki, as much as it was for the him doing this swan song for the character. I feel that anyone who has enjoyed the first season or enjoyed the movies is going to enjoy this one so much more, knowing he's our big damn hero underneath it all anyway is so wonderful. I'm amped for if we ever get to see these folks again, because I think that they could pop up at some place somewhere sometimes, but I think this was a beautiful ending that they got to have. And I think these calls for Loki season 3, as a person who's currently crossing her fingers for 2 other major shows to get a season 3, I don't want that for this. I'm good.
What 2?
Good Omens and Our Flag Means Death.
Okay.
Good Omens definitely is getting the 3rd season.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it picked up, or you're just saying?
Yeah, because what it is that Neil Gaiman's been talking about that he's been asked to start writing it, but that doesn't mean they've picked it up yet. Was last.
Hold on,
let
me see if I can find it before you're done.
I just want to say, to compliment what you're saying, as Kevo's point said a moment ago, like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun.
Please don't.
Like a ski lift drop.
Like a ski lift. Do it. Go to ski lift instructor. Really? Wicked?
Who can say?
I get it.
You put it for good. What else am I going to say? I do just want to say, Tori, it was so great having something that kept your love of the Marvel Universe alive. And, seeing that the fan reaction is why we got Loki. Comic fans are not why we got this Loki. Fans like you are, and the Marvel Universe is better for it. And I just, I really outstandingly applaud, your dedication, your fanfic accounts, and every other way you contributed. Oh, we all have them. Everyone knows we talk about them.
You can't find me on that.
No, you can't find me either.
AO3.
Love it. Donate. But yeah, no, I think I think that this was such a joy. I don't see a need for season 3 out of this. I really do think it wraps up quite nicely. I think if we were to get a Loki season 3, it would be to completely revamp it with something else. It would just be a reboot Loki season 1. And it wouldn't be.
It would have to be a different Loki.
It'd have to be a different Loki. And if they want to do that, that's fine. I will sit down for many, many, many other Lokis. But
it would be Kid Loki singing to Sylvie, "No one's gonna harm you."
Yeah,
I do really agree that in that regard, I think this might be the best time to introduce Kid Loki, because if we want to do anything, do something really brand new. This was such a lovely ending.
Yeah. I definitely think you could do the thing where you're like, it's Loki season 3, but the tagline is Journeys into Mysteries or whatever, or Agent of Asgard or whatever. Like you can do that, but it will not be Tom Hiddleston. We might see 1 or 2 of these people, probably not Owen Wilson. Yes, Nico?
I just don't want to see it go too far. I don't want to see season 3 be Journey into Mysteries, season 4 be Agent of Asgard, season 5 be Loki, deranged shit stirrer. You know what I mean? Like, there's gotta be a limit.
Yeah. I mean, we could just get young Loki, and it's Loki trying to go through high school with his stupid brother Thor on the football team while he makes friends with all the other teenage gods.
Okay, I'm into that. Pantheon High. Jeez. So, Jonah, talk to me. What is your goodbye to Loki? Where do you sit in this great big green world?
Where we say goodbye to Loki, I wish him all the best being, a god and everything. I wish him the best in all of his abilities, and Now maybe we could talk about getting Enchantress. Please.
Listen to this guy over here. I just want Angela.
Let the body get cold, please.
I just want Angela. That's all I want. I know they already gave Hela Angela's backstory. But I still think there's a possibility that she's going to show up in that gold bikini with those magical energy powers, being
and
an
her
angel
girlfriend Sarah.
with her girlfriend. I think it could happen. Although I guess they kind of gave that to Valkyrie. Ugh, hard time to be Angela, I guess. Yikes.
I wonder if maybe they can't.
Ugh. Can't, wa'n't, shan't. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So
Well, at this point, with Disney money, they can.
There's
They're
nothing they
choosing
can't
not
do.
to.
Well, now hold on. Disney only has time for one major project, and right now they seem to be buying Hulu. So
3.9.
Right.
Everyone's
Right
gonna
now-
challenge Mant.
I actually was sitting here going, if anybody comes for you, either go for Man Thing or Mantis. Man Thing or Mantis. Go with Mantis. Carl Lumbly. Carl Lumbly. Go with kind of an alias place.
No,
I
Disney
wonder
right
what
now
Jennifer
is
Garner's
too busy making
doing.
me thirst after the evil wizard in Wish.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bad.
Also, but like it's straight up Illuma.
Yeah, and Disney saw the success of the Mario movie and saw how funny the one Luma character was, and they were like, we could do that.
They've been working on this for like 5 years. This was planned for Disney 100, and they like purposely did it way in advance so that it would come out for sure. Disney 100, COVID and all. But yeah, that thing's a Luma.
there's only so many bright little blobs you can do in life. I'm sure
That's
it's just
what's
like
up.
looks just like the ghosts in The Sims. What do you want?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
I sent you
Right.
the new ones. It's from the new pack. I'll send you a screenshot.
I thank you. I need to know these things because if I'm going to make jokes, then I actually don't have all of the jokes I can make in my arsenal.
Yeah,
I'm not coming to the table, right? Tori, I want to thank you so much for hanging Loki with us. And we cannot wait to have you back to talk more Loki and more everything, really. Your voice is such an important part of our show, no matter what topic we take on. So until you're back, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on all the soch at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I. You can also find me chilling with Nico and Kevo on the Billy Club Pod, where we talk all things Daredevil, which is very exciting because everything is happening also quickly. We'll have episodes at some point. It's going to be awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Thank you so much for hanging with us, Tori, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, Tori.
All right, guys, group vote. We doing a break before the Marvels, or are we just rolling?
Can we take a small break?
Oh, we're taking a small break.
Yeah, I want to go get
Yes.
soda.
Oh,
And give me 1 second before I hit commercial because I want to refresh my studio.
well, I also want to say some stuff before we roll over.
You?
So a point was made earlier that this is where we're starting. Okay. The Marvels is every D+ TV show combined. It's Photon from WandaVision. It is Nick Fury from Secret Invasion. It is Ms. Marvel from Ms. Marvel. And in many ways, I think the other thing that it tried to tie into the bigger picture of the Marvel universe is this idea of civil war that we saw in things like Falcon and Winter Soldier exists everywhere. There are, repercussions to these sorts of powers being introduced. And so that's going to be one of the big things that I want everybody to kind of be like, Ghost Rider cycle revved when we come in from break. But I know
I like that, and I like that preface.
Right. But I know we're going to break, and I think we're showing off a super cool commercial, and I'm really excited about it. But hang in, come right back. We're going to be taking a short break. Enjoy this music. I arranged it just for you, and we'll see you guys in just a minute. All right. It's not that I didn't love Loki. Loved it so hard. But I am so excited to talk about the Marvels. Now, I had kind of launched in with a preface question. I should have said, what did everybody think about her dress during the dance number? But it's fine. Because that dress got me pregnant. But I want to know what everybody thinks about this show being a summation of so many threads introduced on D+, and then made into what I thought. I just don't understand. I thought this was a great movie, so I don't understand people's problem.
I never do.
What do you guys think?
I don't think you're wrong. I just don't know what it means or where it's going. I think this is the way to do it. I think this weird thing happens where it's like we don't ever acknowledge that people have D+ and go to the movies. It's like, well, we make the shows on D+ and then the movies for the movie theaters, and never
no
the
one
twain
in
shall
a
meet.
house can possibly leave it.
I just, of course. Also, why isn't it called The Peak?
Leave the X-Men anything.
I think everything you're saying is true. Like, this really picked up on a lot of threads throughout the MCU on Disney Plus and in the movies, and I think that's good. I think the movies should be doing that. I think it's possible to do it all over. I think you do have to be a little nimble so that you don't leave people out, but I think it's really surprising. I'm trying to remember what thing we covered. Oh yeah, Ahsoka. I haven't really seen much of the Clone Wars. I loved Ahsoka. I get that there's stuff I don't understand. Until I looked it up, I didn't know what the statue that Balin Skull is.
Yeah, at the end.
I had no
Spinning
idea what
on.
that was. But that was weird. That was a weird moment because that's a dead planet. So why is there a giant statue there? I get that it has bigger meaning.
I still love Twin Peaks, even if I don't think drawer pulls are that interesting.
So I think a lot of the times people are like, well, they can't do that because if you don't have Disney Plus, you're not going to get it. I think they can do that. I think it's fine. And so I think it did do what you're doing. I think it maybe could have even done it more is my point. And I think that this in the year of our Lord 2023 being one of the first times I think you can really point to Disney, Marvel really grabbing all of its threads and trying to cohere them a little bit. That's this should be a real lesson to people that it's so possible.
I do have to go into this saying I am extremely heavily biased in this because Ms. Marvel is Kamala Khan is probably my top 3 superheroes, comic book characters ever. I love this character so much, and Iman's portrayal of Kamala is one of those things where it's like, oh, they found the perfect person to play this character. Like
But for Ms. Marvel, this.
Yes, like actually, yes. This is literally the representation of me and Ms. Marvel. She just means so much to me, and my love for the TV show and this kind of expanding upon parts of that TV show was really just kind of amazing. That doesn't mean that I look at this with rose-colored glasses of like, this is the perfect movie. I don't think this movie's perfect. No movie's perfect, blah 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 blah. There are some minor flaws that I did find throughout it that I do think probably could have been edited. I think these are things that these things can be fixed. There was no fundamental problems with this movie. So that being said, I love this. It was amazing. We alluded to it earlier. The singing planet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is an excuse so Brie Larson could sing, because Brie Larson has a very fantastic singing voice, and
she's Envy Adams.
She is Envy Adams, and I'm really hoping they reprise her singing for the.
I believe they are going to.
Yeah, I know she's definitely coming. I'm just hoping she sings again. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really...
even felt like God, sorry.
No, please go.
It's just I even felt like stuff like this was. There's two sides of it. On the one hand, this is in a lot of ways making fun of the idea of people making fun of her for being this princess superhero who lives in a Disney musical and sings. But also it just
Well, here
is
she gets dancing.
Exactly. I was Ms. Marvel during this sequence because it also is in a lot of ways fun. Like there's a way in which it is social commentary, and there's a way in which it's just itself a really fun, cute moment that I just enjoyed. And I'm sure so many people found this obnoxious for reasons I just can't fathom.
Go ahead.
Can I compare this to a movie, and you can tell me if I'm completely wrong in this comparison? I imagine a lot of critiques and complaints that the general audience might complain about this movie is very similar to the idea of people's problems with Xanadu, where people don't know, like, a campy fun good time.
Okay, as somebody who loves a campy fun good time, Xanadu's not great. Xanadu is a good campy time, like a Joel Schumacher Batman. I think
Xanadu was ahead of the concepts.
Yeah,
was ahead of its time, which is something we don't acknowledge.
The specific example isn't great, but your point really stands.
Yes,
100%.
And Kevo, if I can go back to what you said, that's the whole movie. The whole movie is at all times serious social commentary and a serious challenge to the idea that women can't lead a franchise, a film in a franchise, that you can't have too many women together, that people don't like when it's women fighting, that it's too woke, all of those things. And it is pushing against those things, and I think proving them all wrong, but also it is just really fun. And there were a lot of moments in Love and Thunder that I could see were supposed to be fun. And it wasn't that I was like, this is not fun, but it was not fun for me. It felt very fun for heterosexual bros.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should say, like, it wasn't that it wasn't fun. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is fun. Versus, like, there were so many parts of Miss Marvel or of the Marvels where I was like, I'm in it. I'm having fun. I'm in this moment. The God scene in Love and Thunder, I thought was fun. It was cute. It was really cool looking. It was fun, but I was not living for it. And I think I know a lot of heterosexual men who were just like, thought that was the height of humor, that version of Zeus, everything, the butt being out, like it was just so funny. And I didn't think it was that funny. I didn't think it was that fun. I thought it was fun. This, I thought,
Modelo
just like
is such a fancy beer.
And it sometimes feels like while we have to sit there and be like, yeah, it's fun, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
If this is not for you, you'll screech about it and say it's destroying cinema. And it's like a bunch of female superheroes playing catch while they learn how to teleport into each other's spaces is ruining cinema. I have a friend who said that, he was just posting positive comments on posts. He was told he's going to hell for liking this movie. Reactions all over to something that is just a really silly 105-minute romp.
And I just really did not have fun with Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I talk to a certain demographic of people who just thought, like, MCU, man, doing the thing that the MCU does best.
Finally, Captain America Homeland.
I don't think that's what the MCU does best. I think this is what the MCU does best. But
jellyfish hats.
I enjoyed I sat through all of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I had critiques, but I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I don't think it's how I would have done it. If given control, I would do it differently. Not at the top of my list, but I've never gone online and fought about it. I supported it. I watched it. I wanted to see it succeed. It is so bummer to me that I'm living for this movie and having so much fun and thinking it's just so great, and that I feel like I'm seeing it fail for two reasons. One, the big one, because of the strike, because it could not be promoted. That is huge. And the other one being that people just don't like when others outside their demographic get stuff. And it's really wild to me. I think that's part of the thing of just being a queer person, being any kind of minority, is you just get used to the idea of like, well, not everything is for me. And man, when stuff is not for straight white men,
and that's the thing. It was one thing to have to get used to not everything is for me, but I guess I wasn't expecting when I started getting fed to have people try to snatch the food away specifically. It feels like you're literally telling me, I don't deserve the food I want, even though it's not affecting you getting what you want. They're still making everything that you want. We're still
Thunderbolts, Captain America, Brave New World.
Yes, and we just named three things over each other.
What you got, Jonah?
To your point, it's just to add on to this metaphor that Kevin was saying, it's literally like going to a restaurant and you ordering a meal, and a different patron that you're not with is saying, "No, you can't have that." No,
that shouldn't even be on the menu.
And being upset that the food is being made and that you like it.
What? And just all of these white guys do not go to all of these movies. And so they're getting upset about their options being taken away. But let me talk to you about the illusion of choice. It's just the illusion of choice. When
Loki controls everything from his throne, where he holds all the strands of all the universes, dummy.
But actually tell me how Batman fighting Ra's al Ghul is different from Iron Man fighting the 10 Rings. Tell me how that isn't just more sort of foreign terror on a handsome white billionaire industrialist.
Someone tried making fun of this movie by saying that they ripped off the plot of Spaceballs because they were stealing the atmosphere from something. And I'm like, okay, let's go Marvel movie by movie and see where we can find the silliest version of every single one, because okay, sure.
Then at that point, nothing is new, because there is no new media. Everything is
shut it down.
Something else. Everything is
shut it down.
I was gonna say that's already been done in sci-fi, that had been done before Spaceballs.
Guys,
the joke with Spaceballs
Romeo and Juliet thing, because Romeo and Julieta already exists.
No meow.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it was Tristan and Isolde before that. It was
a Bible thing, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah, Lot and his daughters,
or some of the sheep on the ark or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
King Midas. Hello.
Just kept touching dicks or whatever.
Gold.
He got given handies out of the bleachers, and they were golden. I don't know.
But I think it's so funny because we're all lamenting the shit that this movie is getting because we loved it so much, and I'm just trying to steer us back to that, because holy shit, I can't remember the last time I had this much fun at a Marvel movie, that I was just living. I think the last time that I was like, I'm certain I love this early on was Shang-Chi. Because I also I love genre, and I want the MCU to do all the genres, because the comics do all the genres. That's why I'm like, do more horror movies, give me more Werewolf by Night. I love that genre. Shang-Chi as a reference to kung fu movies and to Asian cinema was really phenomenal to me, and this as it's not even a genre, it's conventions that we don't get. The fact that this movie passed 18 different Bechdel tests, that so infrequently do the women talk about men, and when they do, it's not romantic. They're not lamenting about romantic relationships. This as cool as I love the chemistry between the Prince and Captain Marvel, that's not a romantic thing. She says throughout it, like, I was helping them out.
It's a real estate purchase.
Yeah, exactly. They talk about Fury, but nobody's interested in a sexual relationship with Fury. It's buddy comedy, passes the Bechdel test, has musical numbers, has funny montages, generational.
Well, I just want to add to what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, the director of this film, Nikki Cox, who released her famous single "Like a Feather."
You're out of here.
She's actually 34. She's the youngest director in the MCU, and she is the first director who could not be part of a major press junket for their film. And the way media portrayed her,
Jesus, this last 2 weeks,
like as this like lazy slug woman who refused to do her own homework or something.
Well, and that she worked on her next production after her job as the director to direct the film was finished, and it was in editing and post-production, where the director is still a presence, but like...
And all of these assistant sound designers being like, I've never heard of that in my life. And I just want to be like, it's always so helpful when the Bat Boy tells us what the umpire should be thinking. You know what I mean?
100%. Yep. It's every single thing that people could be upset about with this movie or find to, discredit it, got brought into light and got played up, and that against the background of the strike, meaning there's no opposite force of hype. It's just so sad and unfair to me because this is so much fun, and it's just the type of movie that speaks to why I read comics, why I do superhero stuff, and why I want to get into these stories, because it is a great version of all of that.
Like, if you are asking me one thing that is definitely kind of hard to swallow, it is the tonal shift. Something that I think people didn't complain about as much was the tonal shift from Thor 2 to Thor 3, because Thor 2 was sort of like, and Thor 3 was kind of like, hey, what the fuck? Captain
Thor 2,
Marvel,
we were in a K-hole.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. That was the worst ketamine week of my life. And for Captain Marvel, the thing that people liked was military chick wearing a 9 Inch Nails shirt, being a badass, Top Gun.
None of that in this.
Yeah, Top Gun came back, and now no one has the need for speed. We're good.
I mean, but this was branded adjacent but different. They set themselves up well, I think.
But how much do people listen to the branding? People come to it going, what? No.
Because it was originally announced as Captain Marvel 2, and that's why it sticks. We were even talking earlier. We were talking about how they haven't renamed Kang War.
Yeah.
And so we still assume it's going to be Kang War. But frankly, even when they rename it, we're all a-holes. How long did we call it Infinity War Parts 1 and 2 until we literally, Endgame became cultural vernacular since 2019? But if that hadn't happened, we'd probably still be calling it Infinity War Parts 1 and 2.
I mean, I insist that Yelena Belova is played by Scarlett Johansson.
Yolanda Baloney.
Yeah. You see how stuff like that sticks? So yeah, Captain Marvel 2 stuck. So I get where you're coming from, that even though the way that this piece of art shaped out, where it really was the Marvels, and I don't think anyone can take that from the final finished piece, because of the nature of living art, that's just not always how people evolve with news that they get about these things.
And it's a bit, the other side of it is the thing that I said earlier, which is like, a second movie's worth of story took place in the life of Carol Danvers between Captain Marvel, even after Endgame and this movie.
15 years ago, they would have released an animated prequel.
I would have done something like that, because this was a film that was, for the most part, with some notable exceptions that I think stand out because it was unafraid to reference the other material that fed into it. So, you know, they was totally unafraid to reference WandaVision.
Or not reference.
What's that?
I said totally not afraid to reference or not reference.
Or not reference. WandaVision, Miss Marvel, but it doesn't really reference Secret Invasion.
Which I think Kebo had a point that perhaps there is like 20 minutes cut somewhere.
I would be very curious. So it doesn't really reference Secret Invasion, which is weird. And then it does kind of reference this unmade, unproduced Captain Marvel 2, in which Carol had this whole other life that she was going around saving the universe. And it's something that she has said since we saw her in Captain Marvel, and then she appears in Infinity War and Endgame, where she, you know, the line in Endgame is, there's a lot of other planets and they don't all have you guys. Just indicating that she goes around the galaxy being a hero for people. Nico, I love animated prequel. I love the idea that Captain Marvel 2 might have been a 54-minute Disney Plus, Werewolf by Night-esque.
With David Hyde Pierce and Selma Blair reprising their roles.
Ajax?
It's a reference.
Show's over.
There's the Hellboy sequel got 2 animated tie-in films.
Yeah. That
explained things that they reference, which featured Selma Blair and David Hyde Pierce.
And they're actually fantastic.
They're phenomenal!
Do you know the wild thing about David Hyde Pierce playing Abe Sapien?
He was really upset about it after the fact.
Do you know why?
He didn't know about Doug Jones?
Yeah, so Doug Jones did the entire role. Everything, including the acting. And then they hired David Hyde Pierce to come on. So when he came on, he just parroted the exact style and phrasing.
And it's Lacey Chabert doing the singing for Kirsten Dunst in the Anastasia movie. Like, either of those actors can do each other. When you hear Doug Jones as Saru on Discovery,
exactly,
that's basically just a David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah.
So it's really weird to hire a voice actor for someone who doesn't need a voice actor.
For a role where it's nobody cares. That's not a good get. That's not a good get for.
Oh, it's like David Hyde Pierce is in this as the frog guy. Shit.
Just doing the voiceover because clearly they did not put him in stilts in a fucking blue suit.
Whenever people are like, "Did you know Vin Diesel was the Iron Giant?" I'm like, "Fuck yourself."
He's Groot too.
Does it say, did you know Mark Sinclair is Groot?
Oh my God, when you say his Earth name, because everybody knows the Fast and the Furious films have gone into space. So
Dom Toretto's going to be in the next Captain, in the next
I was going to say, movie, where they could just as easily drive up to the peak.
I'm Captain Furious.
She's in Fast and Furious too.
She is. All right. We gotta steer this shit back.
We gotta say stuff about this.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
My biggest problem, and even I would still overall, I think,
is that you're too handsome.
Yes, give this movie an A-.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is, for me, A- movie.
Same grade.
Part of, I think, my biggest, I think, complaint, and it's not the actress's fault, is the villain. I just think this villain was a little flimsy, and I hate to phrase it like that. It just felt. I kept calling her not Ronin.
Yeah.
One, her truth stick, cosmic stick. Is that what it's called?
Universal weapon.
The universal weapon.
To which Ms. Marvel goes, really?
Really? Yeah. Girl, same.
Girl, same.
Was one. It's not as big as Ronin's.
Nope.
Why is it so tiny?
Well, because that's Tom Hiddleston's wife, and she has a lower center of gravity.
And I think there's a baby.
That is made of styrofoam and balsa wood.
Oh, she's also she's a grower, not a shower.
No, but she is actually Tom Hiddleston's wife, and she gave birth like last week or something.
Good for her. Mad respect. Hope they're
big weekend for that family.
Truly.
That
baby's college fund is set.
I also found her pretty weak, but at the same time, like, I can forgive weaknesses in stuff, and it feels like, and I know this isn't what you're saying, I'm talking about other people and just in general a lot of audiences, it feels like people can't forgive any amount of weakness, any amount of imperfection. A villain is a villain is a villain. A villain is a story structure that is here to serve the purpose of coming at you, and frankly, a lot of people who just want you dead aren't really going to be reasonable or interesting anyway, so I'm just sort of whatever. I've really had a lot worse than her. Would I have liked better? Yeah, but I wasn't really here to find out who the villain was. And I'm sorry for people who are uber into villain culture for whom that is a problem with this movie. But I watch superhero movies for superheroes. And the superheroes were all pretty cool.
And her hair was great.
Oh, her hair was great. Her grill was so good. Not really sure why she needed the grill, but I'm sold on it.
Her in that peacekeeping meeting with the Skrull.
The Skrulls.
That hair, the outfit she was giving, she was serving.
If I may, this Ronin accuser in the background with that little pop knee being like, "Bitch, what you want to do? I want to go with you."
He's probably walking.
I think they're going to the musical number. Right, they're ready to go.
He's about to duck walk. He's about to duck walk on all of us. Then he's gonna dip, and then I was just gonna go type on Twitter that he wasn't part of ball culture. It's gonna be a whole thing.
I'm so into voguing right now.
I'm so into voguing. I just want to see your fierceness.
Hands off! That's these people.
That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't a big thing. I did think so. To the left over there in the blue coat, the obvious character who is more important. One, I learned his name is Tyrone, which is hysterical.
Classic Cree name, Tyrone.
Somewhere is like called Tyrone.
It's T apostrophe.
It's TY apostrophe RONE.
Right, of course.
Which is hysterical.
For less common white space.
I thought Tyrone would have a slightly larger role in things. I think maybe something got cut. Maybe there wasn't enough time. I would have thought there maybe would have been another moment of him trying to warn her. Because he did it once, and I expected there to be a little bit more follow-through. We set this up that he's concerned about her using too much power and killing herself, even if that means ultimately what the goal is for the Kree. Which also, by the way, I don't really support the Kree, so I understand her motive. I just don't feel bad for the Kree.
The Kree are one of two species that I am completely unreasonable about in fiction. I am... Kevo, what is it? What's the other species that I'm an actual psychopath about when they appear on television?
When Nico discovered that 1,000 years in the future...
I can't believe this is the way you're phrasing it, actually.
From the atrocities they committed, that there were Cardassians in Starfleet.
I literally paused the episode and began screaming. I was so angry. You could not calm me down. The Cardassians are... I'm... Whatever. Put a fucking Romulan in. I can't even do this.
I
called Carol a Romulan when her ship went invisible. It was very in my head, and I was laughing to myself.
Yes, you're becoming a Trekkie. It's happening slowly, but it's happening.
But that was just another slight thing. Again, these are fixable things to make this movie even better. This is not. Like I said, that's not symptomatic of like this movie only has this problem and it can't be fixed without a complete rewrite and a restructure. No, it wasn't the best, but that's also, as Kevo pointed out, that's not really what the point of this movie was. This movie was to talk about these three amazing women and the chemistry that these three women have that is so feels like it progresses in a way that feels natural in understanding of how each character would react to these situations, as well as being like, oh, that's a sisterhood. Those are their best friends. That's what this movie really is about, and that's really kind of what I think the movie should rightfully focus on and is the main strength of the movie.
Also, it's the Golden Girls with the three of them plus Nick Fury as Sophia.
Oh my god!
How dare you? How dare you make the most apt, amazing description of what this movie is?
Oh my god.
Carol is Dorothy.
Front. No, Dorothy out front, Blanche on the left, and Rose on the right.
Well, as long as we all agree who Rose and Sophia are.
Yes.
Well, yeah. But Carol's out there getting booty and having fun and wanting sisterhood, but being scared of it. And meanwhile, you have Monica in front, who is just exhausted and angry and snappish, but also warm and caring. And
You're just suggesting a little Italian girl magic.
Golden Light Girls.
I understand why it really wasn't necessary for the movie. I do actually almost kind of wish Miss Marvel did have her mask just for the visual identity of it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a really kind of integral part of the Miss Marvel visual characterization and that that brand identity of her that I was kind of missing it a little bit. I understand it's not needed here. I understand why it's not there.
It would have been another good joke, though, that the other two don't have it, but her costume, like the one that she has on Earth, has it. So when they're out in space, she has it again.
Although Carol dropped her, hideous chicken helmet. Don't get me wrong. Also, Carol, same. I too was very influenced by the Zach Braff mega hit Chicken Little, but I don't understand why she goes full Tobias Funke.
Also, speaking of Chicken Little, the way that the octagon, I think they're hexagons. The way the hexagons,
the jump points,
they look like the stuff that fell in Chicken Little because it was the spaceship. That's literally what I kept thinking of. But the sky is falling.
I hope that's a tie-in point. But TK, you got something. Hit me.
I feel like one of the big critiques that I had for Jonah, for me, it's also an A-. It's like a 90, and those 10 points are glaring only because the movie is so good that I wish that the 10 points didn't have to come off. But one of the big things is it was to me too short. And which I don't say about Marvel movies that much. I think they do need to be shortened. And I'd be very curious to know if, had they known the writer's strike was going to happen and they couldn't promote this movie, and that in a lot of ways it just was kind of going to be a wash if they couldn't get people in the theater through promotion, if they might have allowed it to be longer to tell the story, or if they really felt like, because it felt like it was shorter to like make it
response to so many criticisms.
Yeah, and just to get it done. But it felt like some explanations were missing. There were a lot of times where you would go, why is this happening? And the explanation is like, because it is literally what's happening. I'm not giving you another explanation. We're just here now. Why are there flirkin eggs all over the peak? There just are. There is no scene where Goose gets pregnant.
Actually, there's the implication when
your cat
mom starts
fat.
being like, your cat is getting fat, and all of a sudden Goose is eating extra and then burping constantly. Like, they're trying to show us that the cat has indigestion throughout the film and is getting fat throughout the film and is eating more throughout the film.
How did Goose get pregnant?
We don't know that's how that species.
Asexually.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes. So this amount of discussion, if you added another 2 minutes to the film,
it's more than the movie gave us.
Yeah. Yes. I love all these explanations. I don't think you're wrong, but like, give me an extra 2 minutes, and then it's not just like, because I did have to stop and take stock and be like, okay, they did give us a couple hints, but like, there are just eggs on the ship suddenly.
But do you know what's really fascinating to me is, I really respect all the feedback that you guys are giving, and I even agree with a lot of it. And it's fascinating to me that yet you both are like A-, and I'm like B-. But I'm like, that doesn't bother me. I still.
I'm like B+.
What?
Yeah, I'm not like I'm not mad at it or anything. But
are you taking points off for other stuff? Or is it just it didn't grab you those extra 20 points worth?
I think, yeah, and it's just little things like there was some pacing. I felt like the scroll stuff in the middle didn't really work for me. But part of why I am even giving it a B- is I'm like, I don't necessarily think B- is that terrible, and I feel like I need movies that are just sort of a chill B- every now and then. That's still really good. It's just like the Loki finale was like an A+. That was this huge, beautiful, operatic thing where the cinematography and the score and the wider implications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was just this giant, amazing thing. But, like, not everything should or can be that.
You are my nightmare as a teacher.
Why?
The teacher that goes, there's nothing wrong with a B-.
Well, you know what? There really shouldn't, because the way I view it is, I think a C is average. Yeah. If a C is an average, just an average movie, not the best, not the worst.
We can break down Chicago grading if you want. We can go full 1955. We can do it. Because you're correct. You're nailing it.
Even if the entire MCU averages out to like a B, isn't that good?
It's great.
That enjoyable and passing?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. This is not me arguing. It's me saying, like, given that to me, you are about right. Like, on average, the MCU as a whole is about a B. Sometimes, raring into B+ territory. This was still an A- for me. This is a top 5 MCU movie for me.
There's also a moment, because when there is this peace meeting between the Kree and the Skrull, and Dar-Ben is talking about what's going on with the planet. I don't know if I personally just might have zoned out a little bit and then came back in to her talking about what's going on with the resources. But at one point she said, our sun is dying, and she's talking to the Emperor Skrull, and my first thought was, oh my god, we're getting Teddy.
They got a baby. No,
they have a baby, and I was like, this makes sense. This will be perfect. Especially, this line of thinking makes sense if you know the ending, being that Kamala goes to Kate Bishop, which I screamed. I screamed.
Hold on. before we just jump to that, I want to introduce.
Well, no, but he's giving it in context something else.
Yeah,
it's that I was like, oh, it makes it. We'll be getting these characters, and it made sense to me. And then she was talking about an actual SUN, the actual sun, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes more sense. I guess
it just does keep feeling like a fake out until we got something that was not a fake out.
So I want to bring us to the 3 big cameos, right? Because I kind of think one of them isn't really a big cameo. Thrilled that we got 2 versions of Maria, but the second one is more of a character cameo than an actor cameo. The first really big character cameo and actor cameo for me was Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh.
Tessa.
Queen of everything. What an amazing inclusion. What a lovely touch to give us a sense of what's going on in other places in the Marvel universe. This also could have been filmed very quickly and could have replaced a scene where Nick Fury found a place for them all to go very fast in a way that's touching.
Yeah. I just saw, somebody pointed out online that these two, the vibe and the chemistry is very much that they hooked up, and I'm accepting that headcanon. I love it. They do have like a tender moment that, because we later get tender moments between all of the 3 main women that are not sexual. The Marvels, thank you. That we have this moment between Captain Marvel and Valkyrie. It feels very coded. It feels very much like, yeah, we could have just invited her into onto the ship to hang out and hug everybody. No, she is just here to hug Carol.
It really speaks a lot of volume, especially with the later scene with Carol's husband, the prince, and it's a very whimsical moment, but it's not really, and you can maybe find romance and romanticism in it, but it's not very.
You really can't.
Love.
She explicitly is like, nope.
She's hard pass.
And it's not even that thing of like, no, you guys are crazy. There's nothing. She's like, no.
This is a political arrangement. This was done for reasons. I literally did it as a favor. But this is a very different kind of intimate moment between them. And it does feel a little
Sapphic.
Well,
It does feel a little sapphic.
In a lot of ways, okay, first of all, have you ever read Sappho? Do you know how many of those goddamn poems are just about like grass? Oh my God. But
Lesbians love grass. They're all vegans.
they all have perfectly manicured lawns. So one of the things that this scene gave me is a reminder that these two women, they are very powerful. Please don't get me wrong, but they're not Carol powerful. They are not ancient god of other realms, spirit of all warrior women who have ever lived, powerful. These two women share a unique bond that I think it's not exactly like other people can't get it, but this really is somebody who understands the responsibility of being so much more, not saying this is the sound of her wings, but this is in many ways that moment between Death and Morpheus, where there's only one person who can understand in all of reality. And that they chose to use another strong woman who has been coded male down to the fact that she wears a man's suit. And this was, again, the suspension of the need for that coding was a true testament to the director's decision to lean into the feminism of this film without blatantly getting rid of all of the masculinity. I just thought it was really terrific.
Yep, agreed.
Now, there was... Kevo, did you have anything about Valkyrie?
No, just was super stoked. I just, my only thing every time there's a cameo is now there is always the fear of, is this the last time we're seeing this character?
Yeah.
And I hope not. Because that's the thing. This was a surprise. We were talking earlier about and we never saw Tom Hiddleston again. But I half expect him to show up, even if just for a cameo in Secret Wars, just to wink at the camera and then pull back out or something.
Howard the Duck again when?
Chris Evans in that Loki cameo, basically.
Yeah, and I feel like we have the potential to see so many things like that. So, hopefully we see her again in a larger capacity, but even just little things like this is very cool.
Oh, let's talk seeing people in larger capacities. All right.
Cameo 2.
Let's not even anybody else pretend we should get the first words on it. All right. Kevo, would you like to put him in solo mode for a moment? Whatever feels good in your soul.
Hold on. Is this my camera? Yeah. Everything is eternal. So when I say I was screaming, it was an internal outside. Wait, is it outside? I'm who? Inside I'm hollering. Inside I was hollering about Kate Bishop, who. Kate Bishop is the undisputed queen of the Young Avengers. She's literally my favorite Young Avenger. Haley Steinfeld's portrayal of Kate Bishop is beautiful. It's very similar to Amon's portrayal of Kamala Khan. She gets the character. She knows what she's doing. She understands the assignment.
Charlie Cox's Daredevil is so good.
I'll do you one better. I didn't love Kate Bishop in the comics. I didn't get what she was about and who she was and her voice for a decade. I mean, for literally more than a decade. Love Young Avengers. Didn't really get Kate until I saw Haley do it. And then I went and reread everything. And I was like, no, she got it in a way that I clearly didn't, and put it on screen perfectly.
Very quickly, and just because I had the opportunity to talk about it, there's a specific. I've been reading the Matt Fraction David Aja run, and there is one particular moment where Clint, after a mission, is just beat up and bruised badly and is in a hospital bed, and Kate is just there and she just says, "You're a good man, Clint Barton," and it I was literally sobbing. So the fact that we saw Pizza Dog and it's just Kamala essentially, being her own Nick Fury, living her Nick Fury fantasy and putting together the Young Avengers was, and the fact that it started with Kate is complete perfection. I will say, as stated in this movie, Kate is 23, which makes sense. She is older. I am a little concerned that Kate is the oldest one. That the rest are going to be 6 or 7 years younger.
So Cassie is probably over 18, By the time she shows up, if she shows up,
that's
probably fair. Let's say over 18.
If I don't get America, I will lose my fucking mind.
Yeah, America's pretty young too. That'll balance out.
She is nebulously any age they choose to have her be. I think they will have her be younger, but
Kamala's age.
Yeah,
or younger.
But if you said she was 20, you don't see her do anything. She's not a kid that goes to. They don't pull her out of high school in the middle of the thing.
She's not like Chi.
No, yeah, she's running. She's running from a giant monster. So like she's basically any age. And again, if I keep going through Young Avengers, it's gonna all be girls. Why?
Oh, because the male Young Avengers, except for Novar, Prodigy, and Loki, suck.
No, because they don't exist.
Well,
that thing I said earlier, where I was like, "Oh, never mind," that I didn't want to say while Tori was on the broadcast. I realized I didn't want to go too far into talking about Young Avengers, those sort of spoilers and surprises. The thing being, Loki, young Loki, if they introduce him as a Young Avenger, would be like, one of the only boys. When bizarrely, the entire original lineup of Young Avengers was boys. And now here we are. Well, was she in the original 4 though?
The original 4 are Billy.
Yeah, the original 4
Eddie,
first.
Patriot, and Iron Lad, and Kate has to force her way into the team. And Cassie gets added.
And Cassie's like, I could be like my dad too. And they're like, Cassie, get out of here.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And then she goes really big.
Nowhere near the number of comics as the rest of you in my life, but I have definitely read the Young Avengers original volume. And that was bizarrely notable about this, and the fact that they're introducing the concept of the Young Avengers in such a female-forward film when they already have introduced Young Avengers as such a female-forward concept is really cool and fascinating. But I also want some boys.
Until it came out, until it was announced, until Thunderbolts was announced, I was certain that White Widow, Yolanda Bologna, Florence Pugh, was going to be a Young Avenger. The chemistry between these two is so off
Kate
the
Bishop,
charts.
You make me laugh.
You try this with hot sauce?
The two of them.
Am I right? My baloney.
I was waiting for the announcement of Hawkeye and White Widow, the stupidest name for a comic ever. I was just waiting for those two alone, and I was in some kind of conversation. Somebody was like, "Well, no, they're just going to make Yelena Belova one of the Young Avengers, because kind of every other character has been kind of a dud. Like, I like that girl from Quantumania. If I never see her again, shrug.
I love Macy's Day balloons, like Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloons, but if I never saw the giant Snoopy again, I don't think it would destroy me either.
Right.
You can convince me, but it's that thing where people calling Quantumania a flop is bizarre, because every single goddamn Ant-Man movie has been a flop. None of them have been successful. This is barely less successful than any other Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
So they just keep making them. I don't know what to tell you. And
flop.
Here we have this woman. She's here.
Flop Lovato.
Delete flop.
All right. We got to do it, and I that's why I kept trying to be like, "Hey guys, great, good pace. We gotta flow Joe here a little bit, because it's time."
So hold on, I want to make sure nobody has anything else to say about the Young Avengers.
We are gonna come back to them in 1 minute in some ways.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right. So here we are.
If you asked me
how I'm doing,
I would say that I'm doing real confused, because if you ask me which one of these two characters was less likely to appear in this movie, I guess I would have said Hank McCoy. But if you ask me which one of these two characters was less likely to appear in the Marvel Universe, I would have said binary. So I found myself in a position. And, when I saw the spoiler that Hank McCoy Beast, that character was in this,
Did you see? Were you spoiled before you got to? Oh no,
it's fine.
That's not fine.
I love the journey more than I love the destination of anything.
Okay,
so
I'll allow it.
I'm thinking to myself how he's been an Avenger, he's been a Defender. Right now he is a piece of shit. He's likely to be replaced by his hot younger self. Tons of stuff going on in the comics, but you could easily define Beast as the least X-Man compared to most of the others. He is capable of, which, okay, I just want to say, this is actually CGI mapping onto Kelsey Grammer actually acting. And what we got in the film this year is just CGI, which is why it looks miraculously better.
Correct.
Sort of like how I have to assume he looks younger than in the final season of Frasier, in the first season of Frasier this year.
CGI.
So, to wit. Oh my God, angry poor Paul Scheer. So, my whole thought here, I was convinced this was going to be a fake out. This was going to be Hank McCoy, but he's a Hank McCoy Avenger with his best buddy Wonder Man. So here's what's fascinating, just so all of you have the background. Hank McCoy was never an Avenger at the same time as Binary. Binary was also only ever Carol Danvers. While Carol Danvers was a member of the X-Men, Hank McCoy was either a member of the Defenders or the Avengers or X-Factor, but he was not a member of the X-Men. What they're giving us is so brave and brazen and cool and one of a kind, and I just could not have expected this, and I just think it's cool because it's not in my...
It was on the bingo card.
It's not even in the deck. Like, you get 100 bingo cards in the deck, right? And
so they're playing blackjack down the lane. They're not even playing bingo.
Yeah, I think about the fact that, and just not to get political, but there was a statistical model that only showed two versions of Trump winning the 2016 election. Two statistical versions where it was even possible. And he got one of them. He got the slightly more likely one. This is like if in the 2016 election, Oprah won.
You're really not wrong. What's so fascinating about this scene is when Binary was introduced in the X-Men comics, Hank had not been a part of the X-Men, mentioned anywhere near them for like 40 issues at that point. Maybe not that exact number, but a decent amount of number. At that point, Hank was already gone. He was kind of doing his own thing. He wasn't even blue yet. He was still, sexy hot, gymnast. And
he had been blued and unblued. He was at that time temporarily unblued and getting stupid. It's a hard conversation involving a woman named Infectia.
Did he blue himself?
Oh my gosh, that's the second bias.
There's a colored man in the laboratory. What color is he? Blue. But the fact that, and Binary was a very specific moment where it was just a moment of Chris Claremont very much loves his powerful women who have these very bright colors and are much more stronger than their male counterparts. And it was very fun. And it was just a very small period of Carol Danvers. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. Carol Danvers was not Binary for a very long time. I mean, even when she was Binary, she wasn't really. She left the X-Men only a couple of issues later because Rogue came and Charles was like, "No, I'm choosing a mutant over you." And Carol was like, "Fine, I'll go elsewhere." Then there's a lot, complex history to that. But it was just so fascinating that it's this specific version of the character of Binary that is now, Maria Rambeau, as well as Beast, which, as far as I'm aware, I don't know if Beast has a ton of interactions, not only with Captain Marvel, but with Spectrum/Photon?
Specifically, Nico has some very upset feelings about the fact that no, that is very much the case, that there is not interaction between these characters very much in the comics. And he feels a way about it, which I get. I feel like part of the thing about this this moment and putting something like this in a movie without really having anything that we know is going to be coming next. We could come back to this, we could not. Especially with what we saw in Loki, I feel like this is just further displaying the fact that we are a multiverse and there's a lot of exciting stuff out there. Monica, do I want her to be lost forever? No, but she could be.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect this is not, the introduction of what we will eventually get. I think when we see Monica next, she'll be like, "You will never believe," and then we will meet, all of those characters again. But doesn't mean it wasn't fun.
Now, okay, I had said to Kevo that during the, kind of car ride home where we were like trying to deconstruct and I guess a little bit unpack this scene, because one of the things that this scene forces you to do is it forces you to project forward. I had said that Kevin Feige could get away with the comment of, oh, you'll never imagine what's coming next, because no matter what, the next movie was Deadpool, so that they could get away with whatever they wanted.
Right.
But the reality is, how fun would Deadpool be if every minute of Deadpool was responsible for giving us this? I think we really could be seeing Deadpool walk through like a film library and really truly travel the multiverse. This scene makes that less Deadpool's responsibility to both create, execute, and fulfill the promise of.
Why?
Because by having it not just in Deadpool, it shows a bigger picture. Now, part of what's frustrating is originally they were going to have America Chavez be the one to punch the hole in reality that was going to bring the Spider-Man through, but ultimately decided to change it when the films got changed in order. So one of the things that we sometimes see happen with these projects and these sorts of films is we get told, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then it's all in one moment of one movie.
Yeah.
Here, by progressively spreading this out across multiple films, one of the things that you're doing is you're creating the opportunity for this idea of the moment of incursion. This idea that this isn't just going to be Deadpool's responsibility. Too much is already riding on Deadpool for Deadpool to be the only thing driving mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe when we've been demanding it since Homecoming.
Well, and we still don't know that that's what's going to happen.
Far From Home, No Way Home, all the homes.
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Halfway home.
Yeah.
No Way Home.
But also, we also did get it a little bit in She-Hulk. When She-Hulk confronts
she
confronts
she
specifically
Kevin.
says, when are we getting the X-Men?
Yeah. And we got Kamala Khan being told she has a mutation. So we don't know, we still don't know what we're getting.
And the thing that I said to Nico in the same capacity as on the car ride home that I realized is everyone just keeps asking about the X-Men. Everyone just keeps saying the X-Men. When are we getting the X-Men? The X-Men. And Kevin Feige's like, I don't know. X-Men maybe sometime. Who knows? But like, the mutants are already here in some ways, and like, no one's asking about the mutants, and yet we are slowly getting more and more mutants. And the thing that I'm really realizing too, I talk a lot about people put so much expectation on Endgame and that Portals moment and Now everyone wants everything to be portals all the time. And I realized that I even felt guilty of that too, and that was why I judged Mom, Multiverse of Madness, a little harder than I should have. Oh my god, and she's a mom. Because I thought it was going to be that thing of like where Tom Cruise shows up as Iron Man, and it's all these variants.
Nick Cage complaining about his Superman scene really aggressively.
Genuinely, and I myself even fell into the trap of forgetting that it took 11 years to go from Iron Man 1 to I Am Iron Man snap. And these things are going to take time, and they are introducing things a little bit. I really love that you brought up Deadpool, because that is flat out a mutant. Wolverine is flat out a mutant. So no matter what, the next project that comes out, originally in May, now in July, so only 2 months delayed, not terrible, is going to be more mutants.
Kevo,
so I don't know about X-Men. What?
I was going to say, do you have access to your beautiful images that
explain
the changes? Thank you. Not that I don't love that we have up some really awesome scenes from the film, but you bring up a great point about how Deadpool is only delayed 2 months, which, guys, I have so few hopes for the future of the Marvel Universe because this movie blew my mind with surprises. I don't want to have hopes because Valkyrie, Kate Bishop, and the other 2 final scene stars, Binary and Beast, 4 co-stars I never could have dreamt up. If the Elektra Jennifer Garner rumors are true, I think Deadpool will have to be my favorite film of all time. Cast list alone,
I'm really trying to check out of Deadpool news and stuff because it's just getting kind of insane. The headlines and this person's going to be there. I was down with Elektra, but that's right around the time where I both tried to check out and also was like, okay, cool, let's stop now. And then you keep hearing things and I'm thinking to myself, is this a 3-hour film?
Actual Hamilton brought back from the dead the moment before the duel to shoot Deadpool.
I mean, some of the headlines are starting to get like that. And the fact of the matter is, it is a twofold thing. One, I think this movie is going to be really jam-packed to the point where already I'm like, is this going to be a bit much? But the other thing is, like, I'm not saying this to you, Nico. I'm saying this just to hype the hype train. Stop talking about it. Like, stop. You don't need to speculate.
We don't need to talk everything to death.
Yeah, you don't need to speculate every time that you heard somebody was on a lot that is adjacent to the studio where this is being filmed, that means that person is in the movie. Oh, this person was in Georgia at the same time. It's just getting a little bit exhausting, and I think it is...
because I think that also speaks to something that I was saying on another show that I do work on, the Traveling TARDIS, about Marvel. We talked like for 10 minutes about Marvel, and I was talking about the headlines that were coming out from Variety, which were then countered by headlines from Forbes. And like the fact of the matter is, like, we're just constantly talking about and scrutinizing, and it's so difficult to create anything under that sort of scrutiny. It feels like anytime you hear a casting or an idea or a potential change in direction, everyone is like, abandon ship. But like, they're just a creative team figuring out the best movie that they want to make. A lot of the things that I hear headlines about where there's this change and it's the end of Marvel, like, that's just normal filmmaking stuff where they're just looking at and thinking about what the best film they want to make is. You make decisions like that. You cut and edit movies. That's normal. And it's like we were talking about earlier, the way everyone has these sensationalized reactions to things. And it really sometimes even genuinely is the normal process of filmmaking is getting the most bizarre reactions.
And Kenneth Branagh directed Thor. The
guy who directed Murder on the Orient Express?
The guy from 30 Rock?
Movie with Emma Thompson and the Scissors?
I love all of you. One of the beloved, most lauded directors.
Theater in the round gets wet about him.
Yes.
Directed the first Thor movie. And I kind of wish he had walked off set. That didn't work. Joss Whedon didn't do it didn't work for Age of Ultron.
The best part of Thor is the Foo Fighters contribution, learning to walk.
Thank you. It's very true. So the fact of the matter is, like, Edgar Wright never made it onto Ant-Man. We'll never know if that was the right thing or not.
It was the Edgar wrong thing.
Truly, Kevo, just roll credits.
Yeah, right. You just Mike.
This is whatever happens. You can't even contain yourself. Whatever happens on these films is what happens. And at a certain point, like, I love talking about it. I'm really excited to find out if the universe that we saw in the Marvels comes back in Deadpool. That'll be really cool. But, like, I'm not here to look at frames in that post-credit sequence and look at frames from the Deadpool, whatever preview images we get and be like, this is how I can tell.
You're here for the Loki tree, not the branches.
Yeah.
All right, Jonah, what do you think about this Deadpool 3 news?
The pools are deader than ever.
The pools are pooling.
The pools are pooling, the deads are deading. It's one of those things where I am fortunate enough that because I don't have a lot of it coming in on my feeds, I'm not, privy to a lot of things that are going on. So I tend to stay very much in the dark. And I kind of like it that way because I like just being surprised by things. I like going, it makes me feel alive in a way, and not like Deadpool. But I also kind of feel like sometimes when there's so much talk about something and it's, all these rumors, all these different things of like this, and this, okay, now it's just becoming a smorgasbord, and like, which of these are actually true? Which of these speculations? Which of these somebody was going to hang out on set because they're friends with the people there? Like,
it's like inundation paralysis.
Yes, and it can detract my personal hype and my personal excitement for a movie because it's now, okay, this is what I'm expecting, and then if I don't get what I'm expecting, disappointment is just sometimes disappointment is when you don't meet your own expectations of what you are setting up for things. I don't want to set this movie up for something for, my own idea of like, oh, this wasn't what I wanted because I was expecting this person to be in or this character, whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, let's let breathe a little. Like, let's take a step back. Let's break that fourth wall and be like, no, let's just stop.
Let's break that fourth wall and be like, chimichanga. So speaking of where that leaves us with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and at that point, the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, I think we may see kind of a pullback on some of these projects. They've already announced that Wonder Man may be off the schedule permanently. It's a little bit nebulous right now, but that does also mean that maybe we'll see a cleaner, more thought version of the Marvel Multiverse. I have been so excited to see which of these ideas and which of these projects work and stick. But one of the things that it has led to is a little bit more of that, what is it called? Marvel Spotlight, Marvel Select.
Spotlight, yeah.
Yeah. Marvel Spotlight necessity, where they're now saying some of these are like smaller, more genre entries. And that's perfect because I think if you had called Werewolf by Night the first entry in Marvel Spotlight, it would have lent such a credibility to this idea because it really was a genre entry. We were all so shocked by it. But because the way this machine works, as soon as Werewolf by Night was the genre entry that changed all of our minds, well, now everything has to be Werewolf by Night. But if you make it its own thing, if you give it a DC Elseworlds kind of vibe, that sort of, it's not what you're expecting tone, then I think you have more room for the genre bending. How do you guys feel about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse in a world where we know we're getting some version of Marvel Zombies, we're getting another season of Marvel What If, And this has to kind of be the focal point of the Marvel Universe going forward.
I mean, I'll say I don't think they're going genre enough. Zombies, sure. It'll depend on what that is. I kind of think that's going to be more like an episode of What If than it's going to be a zombie genre piece, whatever it ends up being. What If not really a genre? It's like 8 genres rolled into one, and all of them very much at a nice little bite-sized distance. I would like more Werewolves by Night. Horror is the genre that comes to mind immediately because there's so many things in there that they can do. I really would like to get Man-Thing. I really would love to see, like something Ghost Rider tangential, like a Blackheart thing, a villain-focused thing. But
it would have a hard time being as cool as the MCOC challenge this month, which is so good.
Fully agreed. There's also Bruno.
Whoa, Bruno, I am so sorry I missed this comment.
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna pull it in later. But
and
yes,
this comment.
Bruno, who said, I just want Spiral and Mojo in Deadpool 3. That's it. Mojoverse when? That's one of the things I have wondered. I think it's not likely, but
I was so creeped out by my Mojo impression just now.
No, I wasn't even looking at you.
I would love to see some version of the Mojoverse get referenced early on. I think that would be very cool. But we were talking during our Deadpool coverage during our Ghost Rider coverage on Wednesday about Cyberpunk and how Ghost Rider 2099 was like one of very few forays into the cyberpunk genre in the big two at all. But, at Marvel, it was really kind of the only one at the time. And I would love to see Marvel do a cyberpunk genre. There are so many different genre films that I would take a 54-minute film like we got with Werewolf by Night.
Iron Man versus Lawnmower Man. Let's go.
Let's see it. Keep giving them to me. I don't see that being very likely on the big screen, and that's totally cool. But I would love to see it on Disney Plus. Doesn't need to be a series.
I love that. I would really be into seeing, but I'm really excited about getting into the DC animated universe. I'm not interested in the DC CW universe. That's 3,486 episodes, and I think you have to mortgage your house to watch it, right? Not my thing. 26 to 32, whatever it is, movies, I can do that. If Marvel wanted to make a stronger attempt at developing a Marvel Cinematic Multiverse that featured hour-long films, man, I'd be so into that.
And in that regard, kind of simpler ones, something that I was even saying is I would love a mini-series that's just like 6 to 8 40 to an hour minute episodes that are like kind of short movies that are mostly just a lot of smash and characters being besties, and that's it. Like, not to dumb it down to basically Power Rangers, but yes, to dumb it down to basically Power Rangers.
I love that. Marvel has a history of that. Team Up, 2-in-1, Action Hour. That's like a thing that Marvel as a comic brand has always thrived on. Kevo, I think that is something that would make the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse feel a whole lot more like home. Jonah, how about you? The MCM, the MCU, where does your heart lie? And what do you think about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse?
I think that what they're doing with the pacing of, I think, taking a step back and kind of spreading things out just a little bit more, and so there isn't this massive influx where we're kind of getting this burnout, I think is ultimately a really good step and direction for the series as a whole. I think there's some really interesting ideas in the pipeline coming down, and I can only hope that they kind of fulfill and live up to expectations of what I kind of want them to do.
I really love that perspective because I think for me, I have no expectations anymore. Maybe that's even why I think this movie was so good, because it just sort of said, your expectations are silly. You should leave them behind. The Marvel Universe was designed to break our expectations. And I think one of the things that so many critics have dinged this movie for is being too Marvel formulaic. I get that, but when Lego decided to release female themed sets, they could have never imagined how many boys would love the pink look of the Miami sets and how many guys would love the way those Friends sets look, to the point where they're actually not that gender split when it comes to fans buying. I think one of the things that they saw was they expected it to be the female set, but they found that it was just something that fans wanted, softer, more, pastel tones. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe said, hey, maybe we do things a little bit different in the same vein and see how that goes. Is this Marvel Cinematic Universe formulaic? Sure, but I think everything they delivered was such a twist on what I expected. If you replace orange juice with another kind of juice, and you replace vodka with another kind of alcohol, it's no longer a screwdriver, even if it's still fruit juice and alcohol. It's a different experience, and I think simplifying it down to the tropism is actually a weakness of critics, not so much a weakness of this film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly it. Basically all the interstitial films, the ones that aren't the Avengers movies or one of the big ones, follow a pretty basic formula.
Just the hero's journey. That's it.
Yeah, it's the hero's journey. It's some of them now are sequels, so it's a little bit different. But it's always like, what's the status quo? The characters feeling some type of way about life. They've got some kind of angst. Villain comes in. We have kind of the fun fights, and then it turns out the villain's actually really serious. Can they do it or not? And then we get to the end. That's basically all of them. A Multiverse of Madness was really refreshing because it was just a little bit different, because it was not, it wasn't Dormammu that was the villain. It was somebody that we really love, and we kind of knew a little bit about the reason why she was the villain. And it also had some real genre conventions of Sam Raimi films that just, I feel bad saying I want more genre films from Marvel and then shitting on like one of very few that they've given us. I just didn't ask for it in that movie, and I feel like nobody did. Sam Raimi just did it anyway.
Exactly.
But they're all pretty. That's how they have to be. All the comics are formulaic too, by the way. Like,
and it's down to little left and right zigs and zags where like in the climax where Carol is offering to do this thing, and I was like, okay, this could go a few different ways. She could say yes and still die. She could say yes and something else happens. Like, there were a lot of different options that could have happened at that point in the story. They went with she's just still full on nuts and evil. And that's sometimes the person you're up against, too. That's the reality we live in, too. And I'm sorry to have to break it to you, but sometimes the person you're up against is just coming for you. And it turns out just like it did in this movie. And that's
even
life.
with a giant hole in her, she's still crazy.
And it is what it is.
But I think they did do a really good job of working within the constraints of like, all Marvel movies are going to be very similar. They can be, they should be, that's okay. Giving us a lot of stuff that, if we'd seen before, maybe I hadn't seen it done as well. The group of buddies in Love and Thunder, Thor, Jane Thor, and Valkyrie, let's say, that's a trio. I don't think they had the fun and love for each other in the film that this trio had. Agreed. I think Thor and Thor, beautiful end to their romance. That was great. I thought Jane Thor and Valkyrie had some moments where you're like, I would love to watch those two do a buddy cop movie. But like, those were little moments. These three felt essential to see them together and felt like it was giving me life to watch it. It was the heart of the film. And that was a real joy and pleasure to watch. It's something I really don't think we've seen that much in the MCU. So while there were elements of formula, I'm okay with it because of all the things that we got that took that formula and used it as a platform to do other things.
And I also think it's interesting that people complain about this being formulaic, and it comes out 2 years to the week after Eternals, which was something I would say is very unformulaic.
Completely.
It is probably the longest non-team film of this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It's so the opposite of the Marvels in so many ways, and y'all rejected that too.
Yep.
So like it's you don't want it formulaic, you don't want it experimental.
You just want it to be
just...
the boys as the original recognizable men as protagonists. That's all you want.
You know, and I even think that this movie sort of provided like the trio of the Bat family, Batman, Nightwing, and Robin, as sort of like awesome, high-powered women. And I think that's even
Isn't that Birds of Prey?
No, Birds of Prey is 3 women being equals. This has that generational vibe. I mean, honestly, I don't know enough about the different iterations of Birds of Prey to...
I'll tell you, the best one was the WB show from 2002.
Yes, it was. I Fought a Revolution.
Dina Meyer is awesome. So until we come back to talk about classic... we keep going DC this episode. Until we come back to talk about some classic DC TV... I really want to thank everybody for being part of this 3-hour broadcast. We've been coming in a whole lot less than 3 hours lately, but you know, sometimes you just have so much to talk about. You just can't help it. Jonah, you hung in like a flirkin to the side of Carol through space. And I just want to say that you've done an amazing job. And if anybody wants to hear more of your amazing opinions on why Kate Bishop should be president, where can they find you?
Can I really quickly say now?
No, I'm kidding, of course.
I think about a lot there was an interview. I might have been at a D20 convention, something where Kate, where Haley Steinfeld and Kevin Feige are on stage as other Marvel actors, and someone asks, "Hi Haley, so what about Young Avengers?" And she looks to Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige gives her a death glare, and she just kind of has to be like, "I can't speak on anything." And it's one of the funniest moments because I don't know if this was in the works. This idea.
Yeah, we have no way of knowing.
We have no way of knowing. But that still rings true in my head of like, she had to keep this entire thing a secret for the entire...
There's no way when she was approached to do the role and her contract was signed that they didn't tell her, by the way, you may or may not be in the Young Avengers. So she was keeping something to herself at that time.
Yes, but I just think about that, and it's just... it's a funny moment to contextualize everything. You can follow me for more opinions on like that and why I love Kate Bishop over on any social at Peak Jonah. That's PEAK.
And thank you so much. And I love everything you gave. I'm not cutting you off. I just want to say, Bruno, this sweater was actually a gift to me by my amazing guy over there. That guy takes such good care of me.
That was Christmas last year. I'm trying to figure out what to get you all this year.
I have no idea what you could possibly get that could possibly top this. This is 10 Christmases worth of the best gift ever. But you know, Jonah, it is so refreshing because, you know, I think if it hadn't been for voices like yours, Kate Bishop and Ms. Marvel would have never had a film appearance. And it's just such a rewarding experience as a guy who worked at a comic shop when these characters came out and bought those books day one. And, you know, was like, this is going to mean something to people that aren't just me. It's just really great to see that it's somebody who's such an important part of my life. Right. So thanks for always being part of the show. And as always, we're not going to see you tomorrow. So you have 1 second. 15 seconds. Biggest problem with that Drag Race episode, go.
The Gaslight McGillicuddy is what I'm calling RuPaul now, because at this point, listen, the plot armor was very, very strong for some people. Mm-hmm. And that is reality. That is a reality TV show. That's how things work. I'm not going to complain about that. However, I don't really know how many times somebody can go into a challenge saying, I don't know what I'm doing, laugh into the camera, and have RuPaul pissing and walk down the runway in a bra and panty again.
I don't know, but I bet the platinum hair helps. But you are our platinum hit, JoJo. Thank you so much for everything you give us, and we can't wait to have you more on. I guess that's next week. We will see you for either comics or Saturday's broadcast, which is going to be a pretty cool kind of Thanksgiving thing. Really excited to bring that to you guys. But until then, JoJo, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Jonah.
All right.
Sorry.
Now, but happy Thanksgiving. So,
was he trying? Is that what he was trying to say? You'll say it next week. It's not here yet. We got time.
So, I am so excited to do tomorrow's TV broadcast with you guys. And then we have got some cool new comics on Wednesday. We've got an exciting Thanksgiving marathon next Saturday, more TV Sunday. And as always, we love bringing you guys this action-packed show. Kevo, your graphics, your videos, your incredible backgrounds, they really set our show apart. And I could not thank you enough for being the producer with the mostest, because that is, of course, the famous phrase. So until next time, sir, where can everybody find you, producer, Commander Kevin Arthur?
Well, first, obviously, thank you very much. Love doing it. Love working with you guys.
Love Pink.
Making this broadcast. Love Pink. Love Blackpink in your area. Love doing this with everyone. And, love what we talk about. Love what we do. Just to even put a cherry on it. Like, I feel like to put a bow on everything. Like, Marvel Cinematic Universe, we feel like it's a B at worst. And that's okay. It's not always great. Sometimes it's really not good. It's not really terrible. It's just superheroes. And that's fun. And you can find me over on the socials at Kevoreally. That's KEVOREALLY. And Teak, what are you about, sir?
I'm about one thing that I didn't get a chance to bring up during this broadcast, but don't worry, I've got it all queued up and ready to go. So I just want to give a shout out to the person that stole my heart most in this film that I think about day and night. Sagar Sheikh, Kamala's brother, the most gorgeous man on the planet.
Her dad's also pretty hot.
He really is, and one of the many reasons we need more Ms. Marvel is because her family was great, and her family is hot. So.
Her family overall, they were phenomenal in the film.
But talk more about this king of a man.
Sagar Sheikh, just absolutely beautiful. I think Mike Flanagan should direct him and Rahul Kohli to kiss. Could be on a
just for me,
set, or in life. Anything can happen in this world.
Really funny gay gunslinger orgy issue. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
can
exactly.
you post that on Cameo? How much is that?
So that's what I have to say about things. And if you want to talk to me about beautiful men who should kiss in or out of Marvel contexts, you just go to find me at TK Elemental. And Nico, what about you?
Well, I just want to say, TK, one of the things that's so important is we had been doing HTML for so long talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it really wasn't until you came in that we became the action pack. And I really love the way you have so dramatically changed our discussion from Bert and Ernie to Bert and Ernie. And you take your rotation. Sometimes you're Snuffy. Sometimes you're Big Bird. Sometimes you're Abby Cadabby. When you gotta be, you Oscar the Grouch us, but it really would not be X's for show if you didn't come in and remind us sometimes that there is something outside of our little magical Disney palace.
I am mostly Oscar the Grouch. He's just trying to be nice to me.
No, I think
knew
you
was going to go for that if you didn't stop him.
Oh, I actually think you're mostly Grover, but so
Jonah is Grover and Elmo.
Oh. He's also Abby Cadabby. That's so magic. So I evidently only know 7 Muppets on Sesame Street. But the other thing that I love is making the show for you guys 3 times a week, Wednesdays-ish, Saturdays and Sundays, talking about comics, movies, TV, and more. This is such an exciting thing to get to talk about, such a big moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And even though there won't be another for a little bit, we are going to continue to bring you everything the Marvel Cinematic Universe does between TV, movies, and more, along with all the news you can fit. Don't forget, we talk about TV every Sunday, and tomorrow will be no different, talking about Lego Masters, Drag Race, and more gaslighting, fake reality shows that are clearly just scripted things designed to break my heart.
Gaslighting this week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Maybe that's our headline.
Yeah, we could absolutely power a car with how much gaslighting there was. So until we move over to hydrogen-powered Californian cars, you can find me over on SoundCloud at Nico J. Vasillo. You can find me on all other social media. I guess I got to fix that one. You guys can find me on other social media at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And until next time, 3 things you got to do. Number 1, you got to stay safe. It's a crazy world. Number 2, you got to be brave because even if it's crazy, you're awesome. Number 3, evolve daily because the next version of you is going to be even cooler than this one. And until then, we want to see you guys next time.
Bye.